Chapter 381. C383 Hong Chenny, Bad Luck. Taishuanzhou. Xuantian Holy Land. Fortunately, the monster didn't catch up. Li Wuji looked frightened and let out a long sigh of relief. Hong Chenny, who was walking towards me, saw this and frowned. What kind of monster? Can you be so scared? He knew what this man in the hat was capable of. If he used the crazy bloodline, even a stronger immortal emperor could be hacked to death. What's more, with the title of Senior Yi's disciple, there are few people in the outside world who dare to come out to oppose him. Therefore, Hong Chenny felt confused and puzzled when he saw Li Wuji's rare performance. Hey, don't mention it. Li Wuji sat depressed at the stone table, picked up the teapot, poured himself a cup of tea, and drank it all in one gulp. Speak quickly, don't show off to me. Hong Chenny became interested and urged. Okay, listen carefully. Li Wuji was forced to tell the story of what he had experienced before. Could it be him? When she heard that a real dragon was born, Hong Chenny seemed to think of something, and a look of surprise appeared on her face. What, do you know that guy? Li Wuji said in surprise. I can't tell you that you, a demon, have such a wide network of contacts. Have you forgotten the weird guy the first told you before? His name is Long Aotian. I think it must be him you met this time. Hong Chenny said firmly. Thinking of that guy who behaved a little greasy and called him a very affectionate name, Hong Chenny felt uncomfortable inside, and felt a little uncomfortable for no reason. Oh, you said that, I remembered it. Li Wuji slapped his thigh and said excitedly, yes, it must be him. It's really strange, why did he just show up now? Has he already recovered his strength? Hong Chenny's eyes were dim and unclear. It is true that Long Aotian saved him, but he was afraid that the other party would cause trouble. This appearance would definitely cause a huge disturbance. According to the opponent's arrogant character, it is very likely that he will target the Immortal Alliance. What are you afraid of? Even if we can't defeat him, we still have Master. Li Wuji said seriously. That's all it can do. Hong Chenny muttered. Who is calling me as a teacher? Yi Junlin walked towards him with a cool and calm temperament, like a man from heaven descending to earth. Behind him, a dog-like old man with yellow hair followed suit. The strange thing was that he was begging for something. Fellow Taoist Yi, please let me lick it a few more times. I can't bear it without your dick. Such crooked words about tigers and wolves immediately stunned Li Wuji and Hong Chenny. They looked at Yi Junlin in disbelief and said tremblingly, Master, you. Yi Junlin turned around quickly and reprimanded with a dark face. Damn, you old guy, can you speak more clearly? My apprentice has misunderstood me. Don't you just want to lick your bones? Just give it to you. As he spoke, a large, jade-white, smooth bone appeared in Yi Junlin's hand, exuding an extremely alluring aroma. Then he raised his hand and flung it far away. Let's go. This big bone is a sign and item rewarded by the system. It has a fatal temptation for canine creatures of any level. This was also the reason why he ignored Yi Junlin. Because he really likes it. Woof. Seeing the big bones flying away, Go Buli's true colors were almost revealed, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Then, he quickly rushed over and bit the big bone, holding it in his hand and licking it vigorously, as if he was enjoying it and being addicted to it. Well, Hong Chenny and Li Wuji had unnatural expressions. It turned out to be a licking thing, we thought it was. Hey, if anyone thought wrong just now, come here and get beaten yourself. Yi Junlin threw down his sleeves and said indignantly. Hear the words. Hong Chenny and Li Wuji quickly lowered their heads, not daring to say a word. Who is willing to admit this kind of misunderstanding shamelessly? What a dilemma. Forget it, this matter is all rotten in my stomach. Seeing the two of them remaining silent, Yi Junlin waved his hands dejectedly. Yes, Hong Chenny and Li Wuji were overjoyed and said quickly. Senior, go. Then, they unanimously turned their attention to Go Buli, and saw that the other's true nature was fully exposed at this moment, holding the big bone and licking it wildly, with an expression of enjoyment on his face. Good guy, this is really a licking of a dog. Ahem, Yi Junlin coughed a few times, waved his hands and said, let's ignore him. This kind of situation usually cannot be cured. By the way, what were you talking about just now? Yi Junlin quickly changed the topic. Reporting to Master, today when I was on a mission, I encountered a terrifying strong man from the Dragon Clan. After discussion, we agreed that it was Long Aotian. Li Wuji said solemnly. Furthermore, based on my impression of him, he will most likely come to deal with you, Master. Hong Chenny said solemnly. Long Aotian, Hearing this familiar name, Yi Junlin immediately remembered this person. The opponent is a special alien species that is a cross between the Golden Dragon clan and the Black Dragon clan. It possesses two rare and powerful racial talents at the same time, and is a super monster with monstrous combat power. You don't have to worry too much. I'm still thinking about meeting him. I hope that when we meet, his cultivation will be higher. Yi Junlin's eyes flashed, and the corners of his mouth curved in a playful way. Any strong person who comes to him to cause trouble is just a free experience package in his eyes. Yi Junlin welcomes this kind of sucker very much. And these words, to Hong Chenny and Li Wuji, have another different meaning. Sure enough, being invincible for too long will make you feel lonely. Master hopes that Long Aotian can bring him a greater challenge. This is the pattern, the two secretly said in their hearts. At this time, the sky of the entire Taishuanzhou suddenly darkened, accompanied by a majestic dragon roar that resounded through the sky, shaking the sky, and it seemed that even the sun was going to fall down. What happened? Countless cultivators were terrified, and the fear in their bodies was like a flood. Especially the birds and beasts between heaven and earth, at this moment they all prostrated themselves on the ground and trembled. This was the absolute suppression from the blood. Boom! In the endless sky, there was a dark golden dragon circling, baring its fangs and claws, wantonly releasing a terrifying breath, and then heading towards the direction of Xuantian Holy Land. Everywhere it passed, it caused a great uproar. Oh my god, this is a dragon! Countless people exclaimed with tingling scalps, watching the dragon flying through the clouds and mist, whistling past their heads. This breath, it's him! It's him! Li Wuji's face changed, his hair stood up, and his right hand reflexively grasped the hilt of the knife, ready to fight at any time. Hong Chenny said with fear on his face, "This seems to be more than 100 times stronger than the one I saw before." Quote. In a flash, the dark golden dragon had arrived at the gate of Xuantian Holy Land. Its eyes, as bright as the sun, were cold and majestic, looking down at this place of cultivation that was famous in the central region. Dragon, this is the real dragon in the legend. Xuantian Holy Land was in chaos, and exclamations came one after another. With the shining light, the dark golden dragon turned into a tall figure. Long Aotian looked down at the panicked cultivators with a mocking arc at the corner of his mouth. This group of tiny human race is so weak. I didn't expect that the guy surnamed Yi would associate with them. He really doesn't deserve the title of leader of the Immortal Alliance. Let me see if that guy is there. After speaking, Long Aotian sneered, released a huge spiritual consciousness, and launched a crazy sweep. Suddenly, he seemed to see something, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. Chenny, is it you? Quote. Swish. Long Aotian ignored the layers of formations and flashed into the yard. Looking at the gorgeous figure in red in front of him, he was very surprised after repeatedly confirming that it was correct. Chenny, I didn't expect that I could meet you here. During the time I was away, were you okay? Hiss. Seeing that the other party came directly to him and called out that cheesy name, Hong Chenny couldn't help but take a few steps back, goosebumps all over his body, and secretly said. It's so unlucky. Chapter 382. C384 Long Aotian in a rage. Long Aotian was stunned. Are you serious about taking a few steps back? However, then I thought again, maybe I was frightened when I saw him, and I wasn't ready yet. Li Wuji first glanced at Long Aotian, then at Hong Chenny, with an intriguing expression on his face. I'm living a good life, I don't need you to worry about me. Hong Chenny said bravely. That's good, I'm really happy to see you again. Long Aotian showed his affection, his eyes soft. Under normal circumstances, with his top-notch appearance and this soft-spoken offensive, there would be countless women outside who would blush with their hearts beating, showing shy expressions. Unfortunately, he picked the wrong person. Your Excellency is really good at joking. Sensing the other party's affectionate gaze, Hong Chenny felt awkward in her heart and said in a stiff tone. Long Aotian frowned. Then he thought of something, his brows gradually relaxed, and a slightly smug smile hung on his lips. It seems that this fairy is praising him for being funny. Chenny, for me to see you again so soon, this must be God's best arrangement, what do you think? Long Aotian's tone was full of tenderness. Hong Chenny resisted the urge to curse. After all, the other person had saved him before, and he couldn't bear to break up with her face to face. But in his heart, he was already secretly saying, I feel like you are a big idiot. PFF'd. Li Wuji finally couldn't hold it in any longer and burst out laughing on the spot. Ha ha ha, he bent over and hugged his belly, laughing so hard that tears flowed from the corners of his eyes, and he almost rolled on the ground. You are so ridiculous. Hong Chenny gritted her teeth in anger. I'm sorry, please continue, continue. Li Wuji realized that he had lost his temper, quickly suppressed his laughter, and said apologetically. This smile made Long Aoshan's face darken, his eyes narrowed slightly as he stared at the man in the hat, and said coldly. Do you think I'm funny? His tenderness is reserved for the people he cares about. As for others, they are just ants in his eyes. Therefore, what the other party did just now seemed to Long Aoshan to be seeking death. Suddenly, the temperature in the air plummeted. Li Wuji felt a chill on his back, and a penetrating chill hit Tian Lingai. The joy he felt just now disappeared instantly. Hold on. Well, Li Wuji ducked behind Yi Junlin and breathed a sigh of relief. Then he stuck his head out from behind and shouted confidently. It's really funny. As soon as these words came out, Long Aoshan froze on the spot at first, almost doubting that his ears heard it wrong, and then he became furious, and a terrifying and surging energy erupted from his body. Ant, you are looking for death. He felt very angry about Li Wuji's behavior, as if a high-level creature was provoked by a low-level creature. Boom, a big hand turned into a dragon's claw and reached over. It contained infinite power, as if it wanted to catch everything in the world. My master is here, how dare you act so arrogantly? Li Wuji hid behind someone and yelled angrily. Seeing his apprentice shouting behind him, Yi Junlin felt a little speechless with a few black lines hanging on his forehead. He didn't know what to say, but once he said it, forcing Long Aoshan to take action was exactly what he wanted. Since Long Aoshan acted in anger, and Li Wuji was hiding behind Yi Junlin, the attack range of the Dragon Claw was naturally covered. It stands to reason that it can also trigger the system's passivity. However, what Yi Junlin didn't expect was that the system didn't respond for a long time, which made him feel very puzzled. It shouldn't be. Could it be that the system is broken? As his thoughts turned, Yi Junlin had no choice but to raise his hand and shoot out, colliding with the huge dark golden dragon claw. Boom! The majestic energy flow came out, causing all the immortal peaks to tremble. So strong, Zhang Tianming and the others' scalps were numb and throbbing. At the same time, the Qinglian sword immortal who hurried over after receiving the news and saw Long Aoshan taking action showed shock on his face. It's actually him, Qinglian sword immortal, who was a powerful person in Guangdong back then, recognized the other party's identity at a glance. I remember that chance meeting. Qinglian sword immortal felt that Long Aoshan had a distinguished status, so he wanted to make friends with him. Unexpectedly, the other party didn't want to talk to him at all. He ignored his salute and walked straight past. It can be said that he was arrogant to the extreme. At that time, the Qinglian sword immortal was at the height of his popularity. How could he stand such anger? Immediately draw your sword and teach the other party a lesson. As a result, as soon as the sword was halfway drawn, he suddenly had a strong premonition in his heart. It seemed that as long as he drew the sword towards the opponent, the consequences would be disastrous. Qinglian sword immortal, who has a clear sword heart, has always believed in his keen intuition, because when this kind of intuition appears, it means that the opponent is very powerful, so powerful that he can hardly compete. Therefore, Qinglian sword immortal swallowed his anger and watched helplessly as his figure faded away. Not long after, he heard about Long Aoshan's legendary record of killing the immortal lord. He broke into a cold sweat on the spot and was secretly glad for his original choice. Now, after a long time, when he saw this powerful Dragon Clan man again, Qinglian sword immortal's heart was very complicated, including shock, surprise, and deep fear. He noticed that the opponent was stronger than before. At this time, the big hand retracted like an electric shock. Feeling a sense of soreness and numbness in his slightly trembling palms, Long Aoshan's face turned extremely ugly. In this broken place, someone could actually block his attack. You know, the dragon claw hand that was used in anger just now, at least 80% of the immortal emperors would find it difficult to resist and would be caught and killed on the spot. Who would have thought that it would be blocked directly? Master is mighty. Li Wuji, who was hiding behind him, was overjoyed and shouted excitedly. Shut up, Yi Junlin said depressedly. After a brief fight, he realized that Long Aoshan's cultivation was at the 3rd level of the immortal emperor. No wonder the system didn't respond for a long time. Just that attack was really powerful. I'm afraid that even Niu Badian would be caught and turned into beef paste. Who are you? Long Aoshan's eyes were 3 parts suspicious and 7 parts fearful. He stared at the elegant silver-haired young man and asked in a deep voice. Yi Junlin put his hands behind his back and sneered, Haha, didn't you come to find me? Why do you still ask who I am? Hearing this, Long Aoshan's eyes changed, His face was particularly gloomy, and he gritted his teeth and said, Yi. Jun, Lin. No wonder the other party has such strength. It turns out that he is the leader of the current Shandao alliance and the opponent he wants to test this time. Unexpectedly, this result is beyond his expectations. The other party is stronger than he imagined, and he is not the kind of person who seeks fame. You suddenly broke into my territory and attacked my apprentice. You are deliberately going against me, right? I advise you to give a reasonable explanation. Yi Junlin said in a colder tone. His eyes were mixed with a trace of disgust. After all, he thought he was here to give experience, but who knew that the other party's cultivation was lower than his, so what's the point of trying to touch porcelain? It's really boring to work hard but not get any thanks. Qinglian Sword Immortal was shocked and swallowed hard. He said secretly, only Yi, the leader, dares to talk to a fierce man like Long Aotian like this. What did you say? A cold light burst out of Long Aotian's eyes, his black hair moved without wind, and countless red lightnings intertwined around him, tearing the void. Behind him, the immortal wheel, which looked like a dark golden millstone, emitted a blazing brilliance. In an instant, the immortal wheel turned 10 times. Boom, the sky and the earth changed color, and the sun and the moon lost their light. The power of 100,000 ordinary immortal emperors emerged from Long Aotian's body, and he released a vast sense of oppression like the sea, covering all directions. Countless people felt suffocated in their hearts and showed horror on their faces. This is the legendary 10-turn immortal wheel. Qinglian Sword Immortal and others were shocked. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they would never have believed it. The 9-turn immortal wheel is already the extreme of the immortal emperor, and the 10-turn immortal wheel must break the extreme to have it. Throughout history, the number of creatures that can achieve this achievement is even rarer than the number of creatures that have broken through to the immortal venerable. Feeling this breath, Go Buli stopped licking the big bone, stared with his eyes wide open, and exclaimed. The 10 Revolutions Immortal Wheel, that is the symbol of the Supreme Immortal Emperor, this boy really has the appearance of an immortal emperor. Chapter 383. C385 Fighting Above the 9 Heavens. Even the well-informed Go Buli was shocked by Long Aotian's achievements. He knew very well that the value of the 10 Revolutions Immortal Wheel was even greater than the difficulty of breaking through the Immortal Venerable. Anyone who breaks through the extreme realm is a person with tremendous fighting power. Terribly strong. Haha, 10 Revolutions Immortal Wheel. Yi Junlin's eyes showed strong interest. So far, his immortal wheel has only 1 revolution, but it does not hinder his strength. Because he can rely on too many means, even without the assistance of the immortal wheel, he can still kill in this realm. Now seeing Long Aotian displaying the 10 Revolutions Immortal Wheel, the posture looks very bluffing. Yi Junlin suddenly found it interesting and wanted to try out what is so powerful in this state. Tremble, ants. Listening to the various exclamations in his ears, Long Aotian's expression was full of pride, and he was very proud in his heart. It seems that everyone's reactions were all within his expectations. The next second, he cast a disdainful look at Yi Junlin. Seeing the other party's calm and composed appearance, Long Aotian couldn't help but frown, feeling a little puzzled. Is this guy pretending to be calm? Yes, it must be like this. In fact, he has been scared to death in his heart. Thinking of this, Long Aotian's brows relaxed and sneered, Mr. Yi, you just said that you want me to give you an explanation. What a big joke. I, Long Aotian, have done things all my life, why should I explain to you? The majestic voice exploded like thunder, echoing in the sky for a long time. Many people felt the domineering meaning in it, and their hearts were shaking wildly. Long Aotian's black hair was dancing wildly, his eyes were so bright, and the terrifying aura that shook the world on his body seemed to revolve around him, even the sun and the moon above his head. It can be said that I am the only one in the world. Good. Kanglang Jun was excited and applauded. Everyone cast a strange look. Old man, which side are you on? Li Wuji looked unkind, flashed to Kanglang Jun's side, pulled out a long knife and put it on his neck, gritting his teeth. Realizing his loss of composure, Kanglang Jun was sweating profusely on the spot. He cried and explained hurriedly. Don't get me wrong, I just feel a little bit involved, and my personal position is still very clear. Li Wuji didn't listen to this kind of explanation, turned his head to look at Yi Junlin, and said seriously, Master, how should this kind of traitor be dealt with? Forget it, Yi Junlin waved his hand unhappily, too lazy to care. Old man, remember to be careful when you speak next time. Li Wuji warned with his eyes wide open. Feeling the blade leaving his neck, Kanglang Jun couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief and smiled awkwardly. Next time for sure. At this moment, facing Long Aotian's arrogant words and deeds, Yi Junlin shook his head. You are showing off in front of me. Did you get my consent? As he said, he dodged and punched Long Aotian directly. The fist was covered with golden light, as dazzling as the sun, containing extremely terrifying power and the momentum of fighting and invincibility. Come on, Long Aotian shouted, his eyes full of fighting spirit. He was thinking of taking this opportunity to suppress Yi Junlin and replace him as the new leader of the Immortal Alliance. Swish, his palm turned into a dragon claw and slapped it hard, surrounded by a terrifying aura. Boom, the explosion shook the earth, and a huge mushroom cloud rose high. Huh, Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows, very surprised that his fist could be blocked. If it were any other immortal emperor, being seriously injured and dying would be the lightest. The most direct one would be exploded into slag. It can be seen that this guy called Long Aotian really has something in him. What Yi Junlin didn't know was that Long Aotian was actually more shocked. Because the punch just now almost made him want to vomit blood. I have the power of the 10 Revolutions Immortal Wheel, so I can't lose. What's more, the opponent hasn't even used the Immortal Wheel yet. Long Aotian suppressed the shock in his heart, adjusted his state and continued to attack. Shua shua shua, his figure began to change unpredictably, making it difficult to grasp, and his breath was ethereal and illusory. This is a top-level dragon body movement, the dragon swimming 9 heavens step. Suddenly, the sharp sound of tearing cloth rang out. The dense dragon claws burst out violently, and the momentum was as fierce as a storm, which did not want to give the opponent any chance to breathe. The powerful offensive combined with the body movement can be said to be flawless. Interesting, Yi Junlin was not panicked at all, and responded with ease. Boom boom boom, golden fist light flew, and a series of huge explosions occurred in the air. The two sides fought back and forth, very fiercely. True dragon fighting technique. Long Aotian's hair stood on end with rage, and his whole body exuded a vast and ancient brutal aura. His offensive became hundreds of times stronger than before, and his punches and kicks made the void collapse, forming a twisted black hole. Feeling the pressure suddenly increase, Yi Junlin was not confused, but became more and more excited. His muscles and bones, which had been relaxed for a long time, were stretched, and the blood in his body seemed to be ignited and became boiling. Yes, that's the feeling, this long-lost feeling. Yi Junlin was excited, his long snow-white hair was dancing, and his black robe embroidered with gold was rustling. Damn, how could it be? Long Aotian became more and more frightened as the battle went on, and his scalp was numb. He felt that the young man in front of him was a humanoid monster. You know, he is a noble dragon, and he is also the strongest hybrid in the history of the dragon race. In terms of close combat, how many immortal emperor-level creatures can resist? Wouldn't they be crushed into dust in an instant by his attack? Moreover, he has the blessing effect of the 10 Revolutions Immortal Wheel, and his lethality should be invincible in the world. Unexpectedly, this person not only blocked it, but also fought with him to such an intense degree, which is unprecedented and can be called a miracle. Good, so strong. The Qinglian sword immortal's breathing was extremely rapid, his pupils were trembling, and he almost couldn't hold the sword in his hand. During this period, his cultivation has recovered to the Immortal Emperor realm, and he is confident that he can reach the peak level of the ranks of Immortal Emperors with a more complete Qinglian swordsmanship. However, after seeing this level of fighting with his own eyes, the Qinglian sword immortal suddenly had an illusion that if he was thrown into it, he would soon be beaten to ashes in the chaos. Who do you think will win? Is there any need to ask? It must be our leader Yi. Yes, although the dragon clan is also very strong, we hope that leader Yi will win. Come on, leader Yi. Defeat that evil dragon. Obviously, the battle between Long Aotian and Yi Junlin is not only the focus of Xuantian Holy Land, but also the focus of the entire Taishuanzhou. Countless people held their breath and witnessed this peerless duel together. Among them, the leader of a local gang slammed the table angrily and gritted his teeth and said, "Damn it, the dragon clan is amazing, right? They dared to cause trouble for leader Yi. Pass my order, all members of the gang must order a one-stop service tonight to relieve their anger." The leader is wise. The younger brothers raised their arms and shouted excitedly. Boom boom boom, the battle gradually entered a white-hot stage. The two figures fought fiercely, fighting above the 9 heavens, stirring up violent energy airflow, tearing through the sky, and the scene was very scary. During this period, Yi Junlin relied on the combined blessing of the Supreme Bone, the undestroying Tyrant Body Art, the Fighting Saint Fist and the 9th Great Immortal Power. Although he did not lose in the battle, he had a clearer understanding of the terrifying power of the 10 Revolutions Immortal Wheel. According to the system, the 10 Revolutions Immortal Wheel is equivalent to the power blessing of 100,000 ordinary immortal emperors. In a sense, he fought against 100,000 immortal emperors on his own. Even this is far more than that, because after this huge force has undergone a qualitative change, the power it brings is much greater than the sum of the numbers. Moreover, the opponent is the strongest alien species of the dragon race, the well-deserved king in the field of close combat. Yi Junlin can compete for so long as a human race. In the eyes of many monks watching the battle, he is simply a godlike existence. This is not the real ability of Long Aotian. Go Buli put down the big bone in his hand and said solemnly. To be honest, if Yi Junlin hadn't appeared, he would even regard Long Aotian as a person favored by heaven, bet the future of Kunlun realm on him, and follow him willingly. Because as early as in ancient times, Long Aotian's experience was full of legends, and he was on the road of true invincibility without defeat. Therefore, when Long Aotian appeared in this era, it meant that if there was no accident, Kunlun realm would no longer have his opponent. Unfortunately, the accident still happened. In Go Buli's eyes, Yi Junlin was an absolute freak. Before he became an immortal emperor, he had the legendary 9th grade immortal power. This qualification was simply unprecedented. Therefore, Go Buli was more willing to believe that Yi Junlin was the greatest hope of Kunlun realm in the future. Long Aotian, can't lose. Absolutely not. Long Aotian's emotions were almost out of control and he was completely furious. Even with the blessing of the 10 Revolutions Immortal Wheel, he still couldn't take down this human cultivator, which was a shame for him. Boom, boom, boom. Long Aotian's heart beat like a drum, the dragon blood in his body was boiling like magma, and countless dark golden dragon energy surrounded him. His majestic and cold eyes shot out 2 beams of bright light that split the sky, and a deafening dragon roar came out of his mouth. Roar. The dragon roar contained endless anger and resounded through the sky, shaking the ground and mountains within a radius of thousands of miles. This was the use of the top talent and magical power, the dragon blood was boiling. In this special state, the more angry the emotion, the stronger the strength, and at this time, Long Aotian was already extremely angry. Now he can kill the immortal venerable. Chapter 384. C386 I surrender. Feeling the surging momentum crushing him, Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows, knowing that the opponent's strength had greatly improved. In an instant, countless palm and claw afterimages appeared in front of him, and there was also dragon-shaped gas circling around, bearing its fangs and claws. Boom boom boom. The huge explosions were extremely dense. In just a few breaths, the golden light covering Yi Junlin's body rippled, like rain hitting banana leaves. Kill. Long Aotian's eyes were red and bloody. He was full of anger and his attack power was extremely terrifying. Every move was powerful and heavy, as if he was going to hammer the sky and split the earth. The offensive was so fierce that it actually suppressed Yi Junlin directly. Seeing that the opponent could do this, Yi Junlin was also a little surprised, but he thought it was more interesting and fun. Then, Long Aotian performed the dragon tail swing, and the thick dragon tail swung like a whip, causing a sharp sound of breaking wind, and hit Yi Junlin's crossed arms heavily, instantly knocking him hundreds of meters away. Yi Junlin stabilized his body, felt the rare pain in his arms, and a look of surprise flashed across his eyes. Good guy, it actually hurt me. What Yi Junlin didn't know was that the dragon tail swing that Long Aotian performed with all his strength was enough to make ordinary immortals bleed and be injured. But facing his high-intensity physical defense, it only caused a burst of pain. Roar. Long Aotian rushed over with red eyes, and his appearance turned into a real dragon man. Dark golden scales appeared on his skin, his hands and feet turned into sharp dragon claws, a mighty dragon head was on his neck, his black hair was dancing wildly, and his face was extremely fierce. This form can take into account the combat advantages of flexibility, agility, high defense, and strong burst, and is the most commonly used form by all dragon warriors. Alliance, is the leader going to lose? A fairy king-level strongman in the team said in disbelief. Qinglian Sword Immortal turned his head and scolded, what nonsense. Leader Yi still has real means to show. Ridiculous, my master has great magical powers, just playing with him just now. Li Wuji snorted coldly. Just wait and see, that guy will suffer the biggest blow in his life today. As a witness of Yi Junlin's journey, Li Wuji knew that this battle had just begun. The high-pitched dragon roar resounded through the sky and shook the earth. In a furious state, Long Aotian had an extremely strong belief in defeating Yi Junlin. He would never be willing to fail, because this would be his biggest stain. I am on the road of invincibility, and I will never allow myself to fail. Long Aoshin flashed in front of Yi Junlin, and charged his strength to slap out a fierce dragon claw, which was as powerful as a tidal wave. Dang! At this time, there was a crisp sound of metal clashing, which made everyone's eardrums swell and almost deafened. What? Long Aoshin's face changed slightly, because the dragon claw he slapped out with all his strength was actually blocked by a golden flying sword. The golden flying sword protected Yi Junlin, and the sword body shone with light, revealing a sacred and inviolable meaning. At the same time, Yi Junlin's aura was like a peerless sword unsheathed, his eyes were arrogant, and his edge was exposed. Invincible. Yi Junlin looked directly into Long Aoshin's eyes and said word by word, "Who dares to call himself invincible in front of me?" Suddenly, his right hand suddenly grabbed the hilt of the sword, and his aura rose to an incredible height. Endless killing intent and killing power suddenly burst out, covering Long Aoshin's whole body. Long Aoshin's pupils shrank into needles, and the boiling blood in his body suddenly turned cold at this moment, and his whole body was cold. An unprecedented fear emerged in his heart. This was a feeling that Long Aoshin had never had before. Even when he fought bloody battles with the Immortal Master, he was not panicked at all. But now, facing this young man with a sword, he began to feel scared. Swish swish swish, in a flash of lightning, layers of sword shadows burst out in an instant. Long Aoshin's scalp was numb, and he hurriedly resisted. Clang clang clang, the sound of metal trembling was endless, and large groups of sparks burst out all over his body. Yi Junlin became serious. Every time he drew his sword, it was so fast, accurate and ruthless. The sword power was invincible and killed everything. This is the immortal killing sword technique. This kind of sword technique with extremely strong killing power, coupled with the Taoist sword intent, is absolutely unimaginable in power. This is such a mysterious sword technique, the Green Lotus Sword Immortal was shocked and muttered. He could see that the sword technique used by Yi Junlin was even higher than his Green Lotus sword technique. This terrifying sword force seemed to kill all the immortals in the world. Soon, the scales on Long Aoshin's body broke one after another, and dark golden blood flowed out. He was covered in blood and scars, and looked horrible. His pupils reflected the sword-holding figure, and his heart seemed to be stirred up by a storm. Long Aoshin couldn't believe that there was such a powerful human race in this era. Whether it was physical defense, close combat, body speed, or sword power, they were all top-notch. Puff! A large amount of blood spurted out of his chest, and Long Aoshin was in so much pain that his eyes were about to burst, and his body retreated crazily in an embarrassed manner. As his emotions changed from anger to fear, the boiling state of dragon blood was lifted, and now he was far less powerful than he was at the beginning. Bang! Yi Junlin flashed to the top of the opponent's head and stepped down heavily. Rumble! Long Aoshin fell directly from a height of 10,000 meters, hit the ground hard, and set off a huge mushroom cloud, with smoke and dust rolling. Cough cough. Long Aoshin kept coughing up blood, and his majestic body was covered with bruises. He gritted his teeth and struggled to get up. Suddenly, the cold sword tip was pressed in front of his throat, and Long Aoshin's figure instantly froze, maintaining a half-kneeling posture. He suppressed the fear in his heart, swallowed hard and looked up, and saw in front of him a handsome young man with fluttering clothes, standing with a sword, and long snow-white hair. Yi Junlin stood condescendingly, with a playful smile on his lips. "I have to say, it was really a hardy contest, but it's a pity. You still lost. The outcome has been decided." The whole place was silent, and countless people were watching absent-mindedly. No one knew how desperate Long Aoshin felt at this moment, and a deep sense of frustration arose spontaneously. He actually lost. You know, he has always maintained an undefeated record, and he even used the realm of the Immortal Emperor to fight against the Immortal Lord. I thought that by breaking through the extreme realm and becoming the Supreme Immortal Emperor, I would be completely invincible in this era. As a result, things are unpredictable. This man named Yi Junlin broke his fantasy today. It was so powerful that he was suppressed in all directions without even using the Immortal Wheel. Is this still a human being? Long Aoshin's belief almost collapsed, and he felt very painful and uncomfortable. Leader Yi won. After a long silence, the Immortal Alliance team burst into cheers. Everyone was very excited and looked at Yi Junlin with awe. Go Buli felt relieved and sighed. There is really a mountain higher than the other. Long Aoshin is a very strong challenger, but compared to fellow Taoist Yi, he still ended up in a disastrous defeat. Ha ha ha, do you see it? This is strength. Li Wuji crossed his arms, raised his head, and said with pride on his face, "I said that arrogant guy will definitely not be able to defeat the master." The cheers around him were extremely harsh in Long Aotian's ears. At this time, he was despairing of all thoughts. He looked at the young man holding the sword in front of him and said bitterly with a miserable expression. "Kill if you want, give me a pleasure." Before Yi Junlin could say anything, Hong Chenyi's voice sounded, "Master, can you let him go this time?" Suddenly, everyone looked around. Li Wuji was surprised at first, then became angry and pointed away with the knife. "Okay, it turns out you are the traitor." Hong Chenyi was too lazy to pay attention to this guy, and his attention was all on Yi Junlin. He took a deep breath and walked forward, seeming to have made some important decision, and said solemnly, "Master, my disciple has been rescued by him before. For this reason, I want to fight for a chance of survival for him. I hope that my master will show you your noble hand." Although he hated Long Aotian's words and deeds, he had saved him after all. Now that life and death were at stake, Hong Chenyi just wanted to show off and ask for a favor or something. Anyway, he spoke and took action. Even if Long Aotian was killed in the end, he still had a clear conscience. Hong Chenyi doesn't care whether Long Aotian is dead or alive, what he cares about is the cause and effect and the stability of Taoist heart. To put it simply, he didn't want to owe this kind of favor, especially the favor from such a greasy man. "Chenyi," Long Aotian's eyes were unbelievable and he said tremblingly. On the one hand, he was surprised that the red-dressed fairy interceded for him, and on the other hand, he was shocked by the relationship between the red-dressed fairy and Yi Junlin. It turns out that he was a master and a disciple, so he was careless. If he had known this, he would never have made such a rash move, and would have definitely discussed it with He Chi-Chi. After all, he wanted to leave a good impression on the red-clothed fairy. Now that it has reached this point, it is really embarrassing. Long Aotian was so regretful that his intestines turned green. But at the same time, he was very moved in his heart and felt that he must have been attracted by the fairy in red, so he risked his life to plead for him. Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows and said, "Zhao Hong, do you mean to let me just let him go like this?" Afraid of being misunderstood, Hong Chenyi quickly explained, "Master, you can chop off his legs, chop off his hands and feet, or cut him into a stick or something, as long as he doesn't die and can breathe. Of course, I'm just talking, don't take it seriously." Long Aotian, well, might he be moved a little too early? It sounds like it's better to just let him die. Wait a minute, Chenyi must be retreating in order to advance. In fact, she is trying to find a way to save me. Long Aotian reacted and thought to himself. Yi Junlin's eyes changed. In fact, he didn't really want to kill Long Aotian. This kind of opponent was rare and it would be good to make him sweat. The most important thing is that the other party is definitely not as good as he is now. Yi Junlin wants to use this to reach a higher level. Just like leeks, they are given away before they grow taller. What a pity. How can I not charge some interest for playing with this guy for so long? Having made up his mind, Yi Junlin put away his flying sword. He put his hands behind his back and said in a meaningful tone, "For Xiao Hong Sake, I can let you go, but you have to apologize for your arrogant words and deeds at the beginning." Hear the words. Long Aotian almost suspected that his ears had heard it wrong, but after confirming that it was correct, extremely complicated emotions filled his heart. He was happy that he had survived the disaster, but he felt ashamed of his tragic defeat and the fact that the object of his admiration interceded for him. "Leader Yi, I apologize to you. You are the well-deserved leader of the Immortal Alliance. I, Long Aotian, am convinced." Long Aotian lowered his proud head and said bitterly. His heart was twitching when he said this. "Haha, you're smart." After the fight just now, Yi Junlin suddenly had an illusion that if it weren't for his appearance, Long Aotian might be the hero of this world of cultivation. Unfortunately, he is a cheater. Chapter 385. C387 Long Aotian, I am too narrow-minded. Seeing this scene, everyone couldn't help but feel emotional. No matter how powerful Hong Hong was before, he will be submissive in the end. That silver-haired young man really specializes in treating all kinds of dissatisfaction. As long as you can admit your mistake and accept it, this child can still be saved. He nodded with admiration in his eyes. In fact, he also hopes that Long Aotian can survive, because if a monster of this level dies midway, it will undoubtedly be a huge loss to the Kunlun realm. If he can become stronger in the future, it will be difficult to resist the invasion of foreign races from outside the territory. A little help. Glancing at the dog-like yellow-haired old man, Long Aotian muttered in his heart. Who is this bitch? He's pretty good at pretending. I'm so angry. I am a noble dragon clan strongman, but I still have to be criticized by a dog. The more I think about it, the more frustrated I become. Xiaolong, remember, you must abide by the rules here, especially my rules. Yi Junlin patted the other party's shoulder and warned him. Xiaolong, hearing this title, Long Aotian almost vomited blood. What the hell? Long Aotian suppressed his anger and wanted to express his dissatisfaction, but when his eyes came into contact with the other person's half-smiling expression, it was like a basin of ice water poured over his head, freezing him from head to toe. When the words came to my lips, I swallowed them back. The reason is simple, he is afraid of being beaten inhumanely again. Why don't you say anything? Do you have a problem with me? Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows. The muscles on Long Aotian's face twitched a few times, and it took a long time before he squeezed out a stiff smile. The smile was uglier than crying. Xiaolong doesn't dare. That's right. Yi Junlin nodded with satisfaction. Long Aotian gritted his teeth and lowered his head, firmly remembering today's shame in his heart. He needs to become stronger and regain his place as soon as possible. Xiaohei, give this guy some treatment, don't let him be picked up along the way. Yi Junlin said seriously. Because Long Aotian was seriously injured and his condition was at rock bottom, Yi Junlin didn't want him to go out like this and be blocked by gangsters with ulterior motives, killing him and destroying his equipment. If that's the case, why should he cut leaks? Yes, master. Among the crowd, a young man with a pot head dressed in Xingyi walked out and came to Long Aotian with a worried look on his face. Seeing this bloody and bruised dragon man, Big Mushroom King's heart couldn't help but rise to his throat, and he suddenly felt nervous. After all, the person in front of him was a terrifying being who could fight his master for hundreds of rounds. Although he failed miserably in the end, his remaining power has not diminished. Here, are you trying to help me with treatment? There was a look of astonishment in Long Aotian's eyes. He was very surprised when faced with Yi Junlin's disregard of previous suspicions. As the saying goes, the winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. Long Aotian understands this truth very well. No matter how Yi Junlin humiliates him, he thinks it is reasonable. It would be a lie to say that there is no complaint or any hatred in his heart. He is not a masochist. He is grateful even after being beaten. With his arrogant temperament, he will definitely look for opportunities to take revenge and save face. However, the other party actually considered that his injury was too serious and asked someone to heal him and restore him to normal. The purpose of doing this was just to prevent him from being killed on the way. Such a broad-minded and generous approach made Long Aotian feel ashamed. The dissatisfaction in my heart just now disappeared in an instant, and was replaced by deep admiration. It turns out that I, Long, have become too small. Long Aotian was convinced. Now I'm really convinced. If he was forced to bow his head and admit his mistake because of his situation before, then Long Aotian now truly feels remorse. Sometimes, strong force can make people surrender, but this kind of surrender is a choice made out of fear and helplessness. But if it is combined with noble moral character, even the opponent will be impressed and admired. Obviously, Long Aotian believes that Yi Junlin is such a powerful man with noble moral character. At this time, Yi Junlin still didn't know that his small selfish move made Long Aotian completely let go of his prejudices and change his view of him. If Yi Junlin knew about it, he would definitely say, "You kid, you have so many inner dramas." Just when Long Aotian was moved, Big Mushroom King was already starting treatment. The injury was very serious, because it was Yi Junlin's injury, and it was not as simple as an ordinary injury. This made the Big Mushroom King waste a lot of effort, and he could barely cure 60% of it. The remaining 40% had to be relied on by Long Aotian himself. Go to recuperate. Even so, Long Aotian expressed his gratitude to the young man. Thank you so much, fellow Taoist. No, you're welcome, I'm also following Master's orders. The Big Mushroom King quickly waved his hand, and then stayed away as if avoiding the plague. After all, the other party left such a deep impression on him that he still has lingering fears. Long Aotian, who had recovered somewhat, transformed into his domineering human form again, but he was not as arrogant as before. He breathed a long sigh of relief, bowed his hands with mixed emotions, and said, "Leader Yi, I am extremely sorry for the trouble I have caused you this time." Seeing the other party's somewhat lost look, Yi Junlin said seriously, "Xiaolong, after you go back, you must practice hard. Don't let your Taoist heart be damaged because of what happened today. The great road is at your feet. You just have to keep moving forward." The reason why Yi Junlin said this is that he didn't want the other party to sink, otherwise how could he gain experience? Try to get a higher level of cultivation. First, drink some inspirational chicken soup to recover blood first. Hearing this, Long Aotian was stunned on the spot and his breathing became rapid. The words kept echoing in his mind. Boom. The next second, the chaotic thoughts were instantly clear. Originally, Long Aotian experienced this tragic defeat, and his invincible Tao heart was broken. Although he didn't become muddle-headed, it would definitely affect his cultivation. I'm afraid it will turn into a demon in the future, and his cultivation will almost stagnate. Because this blow is too damn heavy. He has never been so completely abused since his debut. However, Yi Junline's words immediately rekindled Long Aotian's fighting spirit. Not only did his broken Tao heart heal again, but it was even more stable and flawless. That's right, the road is under his feet. Regardless of the outcome, he just needs to move forward. Besides, it was not unfair for Long Aotian to lose to such a person. His thoughts fluctuated. Long Aotian bowed solemnly and said firmly, Master Yi, I will remember your teachings and work hard to improve my cultivation. I hope I can find you to learn from you when the time comes. I am looking forward to it. Yi Junline showed a meaningful smile. Looking at Long Aotian, whose temperament had changed, Go Buli stroked his beard and sighed with a smile. This is the most correct mentality for a strong man. I am more and more optimistic about your future. Hearing this, Long Aotian could not bear it anymore and shouted at Go Buli, what the hell are you barking about? Shut up, I have tolerated you for a long time. It was okay for him to be taught a lesson by Yi Junline, because the other party had proved his qualifications with actual actions, but Long Aotian was absolutely unconvinced by being criticized by this guy. Who are you? Do you have the right to speak? Whose dog is not tied properly and ran out to add to the drama? Go Buli's smile froze after being scolded by Long Aotian. Mainly because he thought his identity was known to everyone, so he relied on the power of others, but he didn't expect that the other party would not give him face at all. This is very embarrassing. Ahem, if there is nothing else, you can leave. Yi Junline waved his hand. Master Yi, see you later. Long Aotian bowed with respect. Just as he was about to leave, he glanced at the red figure, and strange emotions emerged in his heart. Thinking of the people in front who risked their lives to plead for him, Long Aotian couldn't help but feel warm in his heart. This red-clothed fairy who seems to have a cold temperament is actually cold on the outside but warm on the inside, with a sharp tongue but a soft heart. Chenny. Long Aotian's eyes were gentle, and his tone was particularly serious. I will keep this friendship in mind. The next time we meet, I will let you see a different me, and I will never let you down. After saying that, Long Aotian soared into the air in a self-righteous manner, turning into a dark golden beam of light that shot into the sky, causing huge air ripples, and disappeared without a trace. Feeling the strange looks from the people around him, Hong Chenny's mouth twitched wildly. He looked at the direction where Long Aotian disappeared, and after holding it in for a long time, he squeezed out a sentence from between his teeth. Everyone, is it too late to kill him now? Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode, thumbs feed 01, container, tabula below article thumbnail, 300 times 250 feet, placement, below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet, target _type, mix. Chapter 386. C388 I was already in a bad mood. What Long Aotian said before leaving really disgusted Hong Chenny. Repay kindness with hatred, right? Leave me alone in this embarrassment. Li Wuji first coughed a few times, then pretended to be a tough man and showed tenderness, and shouted in an attempt to beg for a beating. Chiba. The rich voice became extremely disgusting, making Hong Chenny get goosebumps all over her body. Get out of here, you bastard. Hong Chenny became angry and scolded. He was already very annoyed, but he was even more annoyed by this. Ha ha ha. Li Wuji held his stomach and laughed so hard that he didn't pay attention to Hong Chenny, whose face turned darker and darker and his whole body was shaking with anger. If you dare to make that sound again, I will fight you. Anger burst out from Hong Chenny's eyes, and she rushed forward, grabbed Li Wuji's collar, and warned him sternly. Li Wuji realized that things were getting a bit big, so he quickly raised his hands and said with a smile, I'm just kidding you, why bother? HMPH, this isn't funny at all. Hong Chenny said coldly. That brother is also a weirdo. What a big blow it would be if he found out you were a man. Can you bear it? Li Wuji winked and teased. He has finally seen the horror of this kind of appearance between men and women. Even a straight man may fall under the charm of good looks. Poor Long Aotian is still kept in the dark. None of my business. Hong Chenny crossed his arms and said expressionlessly. Why? Seeing this, Li Wuji sighed and said softly resentfully, Chenny, you are so heartless. As soon as he finished speaking, he quickly turned around and ran away without looking back. Ha ha ha, laughter floated in the air in the distance, so naughty that he didn't deserve a slap. Hong Chenny. After coming back to his senses, Hong Chenny went crazy. He raised his head and made a sharp explosion. Then, as if possessed by a big devil, he chased after him with a murderous look on his face and said in a cold voice. Li, if you have the guts, don't run away. I'm going to kill you. Witnessing this farce, many people wanted to laugh too, but when they thought of the consequences they would face, they had no choice but to hold back their laughter and their faces turned red. Seeing the friendly play among the disciples, Yi Junlin did not stop him. Instead, he looked at the jarhead boy and said, Xiao He, follow us and take a look, don't let them lose your life. In this posture, the fight is expected to be very fierce. It is a trivial matter to injure the muscles and bones, but not if life is endangered. As the strongest therapist in the team, the other party is best suited to be responsible for this kind of aftermath. Yes, Master, Big Mushroom King smiled bitterly. In fact, he was quite afraid of being involved, so he only dared to watch from a distance. Yi Junlin turned to look at the indignant yellow-haired old man who was grinding his teeth crazily with a big bone, and asked funny Ly, Old Go, do you have a big opinion against Xiaolong? Gubuli said angrily, this junior is so rude. Fortunately, I think highly of him. Long Aoshan scolded him in public, making him very embarrassed. Congratulations, leader, for successfully suppressing Long Aoshan. After this incident, the overall situation of the central region has been decided. Qinglian's sword immortal came over with admiration on his face, bowed to Yi Junlin and said with his hands in hand. We are both immortal emperors, but the difference is like a firefly and a bright moon. Comparing one person to another is really irritating. The most frightening thing is that in the face of Long Aoshan's crazy attack, the young man never panicked and looked at ease, as if he was under control from beginning to end. This made Qinglian's sword immortal even more convinced that the other party must be the hidden immortal emperor from ancient times. As for why he condescended to stay in the Kunlun world, the real reason behind this is mind-boggling. In this regard, Qinglian's sword fairy could only think that Yi Junlin was actually playing a big game of chess, and everyone in the world was on the chessboard. It looks leisurely and casual, but the actual layout is far-reaching. The layout is huge beyond imagination. Yi Junlin waved his hands with an indifferent look on his face. Packaging this kind of stuff will probably make me sweat at most. What he said was correct. Because now, after signing in with various rewards, his strength has been improved in all aspects. If he were in the game, he would be a perfect polygonal warrior with no shortcomings at all. He can kill ordinary immortal emperors with a snap of his fingers without any effort. Only monsters like Long Aoshan can make him interested in fighting and make him sweat. Such calm words and deeds made everyone feel more and more in awe. An idea emerged in their hearts. They really wanted to know where the current limit of Alliance leader Yi was. The war ended. This news was also spread, causing an uproar in the Central Realm cultivation world. What? A real dragon appears in the world, looking for trouble with Leader Yi. That's not the point. The point is that the real dragon was suppressed by Leader Yi. Damn it, that's the legendary dragon. I didn't expect Leader Yi to be so fierce and beat the dragon into worms. Awesome, awesome. Monks from all over the country are discussing it and marveling at Yi Junlin's unparalleled feats. After all, in their view, dragons are superior and have unparalleled combat power. In the past, there was a saying that dragons are mighty, and real dragons cannot be insulted. And the strong dragon clan challenged Yi Junlin, but in the end they were all beaten into submission. This position of alliance leader is well deserved. As the name of the powerful dragon clan was revealed, everyone also knew about the existence of Long Aoshan. Unlike the normal reaction of contemporary cultivators, all the revivers were extremely shocked by the news of Long Aoshan's tragic defeat. That was the super genius of the ancient Kunlun world, who swept all the way. Even the giants of the immortal venerable level were beaten to death by him. This name once frightened countless people and was synonymous with invincibility in the same realm. I never expected that such an unparalleled monster would eventually be defeated by that person. It seems that Senior Yi is the leader of the Immortal Alliance, which is really suitable. Many revivers sighed. Among them, there are a small number of Immortal Emperor-level creatures who wanted to unite and overthrow the rule of the Immortal Alliance before. As a result, after receiving the news of Long Aoshan's defeat, they were all scared and dared not act rashly. After all, even a strong Immortal Emperor like Long Aoshan was defeated, and they would be courting death if they were to make trouble. In the days that followed, After the strict management of the Immortal Alliance, the Central Region cultivation world has become orderly, rejuvenated and prosperous. In front of the huge nest in the Qianlong Mountains, a 10,000-foot-tall cyclops is approaching. Dong dong dong, the footsteps are heavy and the earth is shaking. But as the distance gets closer, the cyclops's footsteps become lighter and lighter, and even look a little cautious. Its skin is sea blue, covered with ancient rune marks, and its knotted muscles are like steel juice, full of wild and barbaric breath. The eyeball in the middle of its face is staring at the huge nest, with deep fear in its eyes. Because the existence in the nest is a peerless monster that even the immortal venerable can kill. May I ask if fellow Taoist Long is here? Thinking of the purpose of this trip, the Cyclops calmed his mind and asked tentatively. In the nest, there was silence. The Cyclops bit the bullet and moved forward to see what was going on. At this time, an arrogant and majestic voice came from the nest. If you dare to come closer, you will be killed without mercy. The Cyclops' figure suddenly froze. Although he was very unhappy with the other party's tone, he could only hold it in his heart. It took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Friend Long, I have something important to discuss with you." Not interested, get out. The owner of the nest directly issued an order to expel him, as if the Cyclops was not worthy of having too much interaction with him. The Cyclops was so angry that his lungs were about to explode, and his fists were clenched. It is also a fairy emperor-level creature after all. Where can it not be worshipped? But here, it is humble like a dog. This matter is about Yi Junlin. The Cyclops thought of something, a gleam of brilliance flashed in his eyes, and he deliberately picked the key points and said. Suddenly, a rumbling and dull sound came from the nest, as if some kind of giant was turning over. A large amount of dust was emitted, and sand and stones were flying. A huge and majestic dragon head poked out, and the golden vertical pupils glowed brightly, staring at the Cyclops. The dragon's might was so great that the grass and trees were silent. The Cyclops felt cold on his back, and he smiled calmly. Fellow Taoist Long, I knew you must be very interested. You mean, this matter is related to Alliance leader Yi? Long Aotian frowned. He has been recuperating during this period, and has devoted himself to cultivating and restoring his cultivation. He has now come from the 3rd level of the Immortal Emperor to the 7th level of the Immortal Emperor, but there is still a long way to go from the 9th level of the Immortal Emperor in the past. These days, Long Aotian has been recalling the details of the battle. He found that his fighting style was too aggressive, and his cultivation was at an absolute disadvantage. In addition, he did not have time to use his strongest trump card, which led to his defeat in the end. Therefore, Long Aotian planned to wait until his cultivation was fully restored, and then regroup to challenge Yi Junlin. But this time he did not go with hostility, but simply wanted to learn from him. After what happened last time, Long Aotian's Tao heart was pure and untainted. Even if he was defeated again, he didn't think it was a big deal. He mainly wanted to fight with a stronger person to make up for his own shortcomings. So, when he heard the news revealed by the Cyclops, Long Aotian, who respected Yi Junlin, showed special attention. Because in this strange era, the other party is not only his strongest opponent, but also his mentor. Mr. Situ, I have introduced you to fellow Taoist Long. Please show up and have a chat. The Cyclops did not answer Long Aotian directly, but turned his head and nodded in a certain direction. Buzz buzz buzz, ripples appeared in the void. A young man with fluttering golden hair, white wings on his back, and an angel halo on his head walked out. Situ Yan came to the side of the Cyclops and said calmly, "Thank you, sir." When he saw the blonde young man appear, Long Aotian was very surprised, then narrowed his eyes slightly and said in a deep voice. "Are you from the Light Clan? Window. _Tabula equals window. _Tabula. Push mode, thumb speed 01, container, tabula below article thumbnail, 300 times 250 feet, placement, below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet, target _type, mix." Chapter 387. C389 The Realm of the Saint. With his identity as Long Aotian, he could recognize Situ Yan's origins at a glance. The corners of Situ Yan's lips raised slightly. "Fellow Taoist Dragon, I have long admired your name. I am from the Guangming clan, Situ Yan." Long Aotian sneered. The Guangming clan is an immortal clan in the heaven world, which means you sneaked in secretly. Let me guess, now that the Kunlun world has entered a prosperous period, and there is a lot of room for advancement, you guys have a weird idea and want to take it for yourself, so you came to me to persuade me to surrender and cooperate with you to achieve the purpose, right? Long Aotian's words directly pierced the window paper, causing the expression of the Cyclops who was listening to change drastically. Satu Yan's face moved slightly, and he had a new understanding of this rumored arrogant and moody strong dragon man. Haha, what you said is basically correct, but I want to correct you. I'm not here to persuade you to surrender, but to talk about cooperation with you. Bullshit cooperation. Hearing these two words, Long Aotian laughed mockingly, seeming to despise Satu Yan for deliberately changing the concept. Satu Yan did not get angry and said calmly, "You have been in this world for too long and you don't know that earth-shaking changes have taken place outside. To tell you the truth, take the four masters of the Kunlun realm back then as an example. The saints they achieved at that time can now be achieved by living beings in the top 100 worlds. The current Kunlun realm has been completely left behind. Tianwanji can only be at the downstream level." What? Long Aotian's pupils shrank, and his expression showed an unconcealable shock. Saint is a realm above the immortal emperor. In the Kunlun world in ancient times, 4 saints were born. From then on, the concept of saints existed for everyone. The saint possesses boundless power and is a being far beyond the immortal emperor. To put it bluntly, even the powerful immortal emperor is like an ant in front of the saint. In the universe during that period, saints could be said to be at a completely new level, so the number was pitifully small. Only the top 10 worlds in the divine court could give birth to one. But in the Kunlun world, there are 4 saints. This directly makes the Kunlun realm occupy the second position in the divine court, and enjoys a very high reputation and incomparable glory in the entire universe. At that time, monks from the Kunlun world were very confident when they traveled across the universe. When monks from other worlds met them, once they learned their origins, their attitude would be very respectful. The biggest reason comes from those 4 saints. Like the pillars of heaven, they hold up the sky of Kunlun realm. Therefore, Long Aotian has always had great awe and admiration for the legendary realm of saints. In this state, he only dares to think about it while dreaming. His ultimate goal is just the immortal emperor. But now, when Satu Yan personally said that saints were overflowing outside, at least there were saints in the top 100 worlds. Even Long Aotian, who was mentally prepared, his worldview collapsed. How is this possible? That is a saint who is more powerful than the immortal emperor. You Birdman, you must be lying to me, I don't believe your nonsense. Long Aotian shouted angrily. He subconsciously felt that Satu Yan was using his scheming tactics. Hearing the name Birdman, Satu Yan had veins bulging on his forehead. He suppressed the anger in his heart and kept a calm face as he said. Times have changed. I can even make a vow to my inner demons to ensure that what I said before is true. The Cyclops also began to help. Fellow Taoist dragon, I understand your mood. When Mr. Satu found me and told me about the situation outside, I was as shocked as you. But what Mr. Satu said was true. Saint, the state of being is no longer as rare as it was in our time. In the past long years, the universe has undergone earth-shaking changes. Since the decline of our Kunlun world, we have been derailed from the outside world. We must learn to accept the reality. Fellow Taoist is right. Satu Yan glanced at the Cyclops and nodded with satisfaction. The purpose of his trip was very simple, which was to win over evildoers like Long Aotian to his side. He has learned about Long Aotian's origins and achievements, and knows that the opponent's strength is comparable to that of the Immortal Lord. Even in his family, he is an extremely good young man, and his qualifications are no worse than his brother Satu Kong. For Long Aotian, who has great growth potential, Satu Yan certainly wants to use him for his own purposes and increase his bargaining chips. Therefore, Satu Yan planned to attack Long Aotian's belief and shake his long-standing belief in the Kunlun realm. Long Aotian fell into silence. In this case, it seems that the news is true. Has the outside world developed to this point? Since he has lived in the Kunlun realm since childhood and has witnessed the most glorious period of the Kunlun realm, Long Aotian believes that even if there are no 4 saints now, the resurrected Kunlun realm will definitely be at the forefront of the universe. But now, Satu Yan's words broke his illusion about the future situation. It was difficult for him to accept that the once powerful Kunlun realm would sink to the lower reaches of the universe. This feeling, just like a rich man who woke up and found out that his life of luxury disappeared and could only live as a beggar in the future. There was a huge psychological gap. Seeing that the other party was silent, Satu Yan took advantage of the opportunity and continued. Fellow Taoist dragon, to tell you the truth, the Kunlun world, which is once again full of vitality, will have greater development potential. This is why I sneaked in. But for this piece of fat meat, all forces in the universe are eyeing it covetously. If it weren't for the agreement between the saints, Kunlun realm would have been divided up long ago, and all the creatures here would have been trampled and become prisoners. Now, I can give you the opportunity to cooperate. After the matter is done, you will be a hero of my light clan. My clan will allow you to take charge of this world. By then, you will sooner or later become the legendary saint. But if you don't cooperate, with the current strength of Kunlun realm, it will not be able to stop the invasion from outside the domain. When this world is trampled and divided, strong people like you will also be captured by the big forces and auctioned as slaves. Situ Yan used both kindness and force, and said with a hint of threat in his tone, do you want to be a slave after the defeat, or to reach a cooperation with me and become the spokesperson of my clan to take charge of this planet in the future? I believe you already have the answer in your heart. The Cyclops was very envious and jealous, because it was not offered such generous conditions. In order to show off in front of Situ Yan, the Cyclops coaxed him, fellow Taoist Long, we don't have to ruin our future. Besides, the heaven realm belongs to the divine court. We all work for the divine court, let alone betrayal. Divine court humph. For this giant force, Long Aocean's heart is full of disgust and hatred. The Kunlun realm used to be a part of the divine court, fighting against the Nine Nether realm for the divine court, but was abandoned in the end. Now the divine court is still trying to squeeze the value of the Kunlun realm and eat it up. This backstabbing behavior made Long Aocean full of hatred. By the way, you mentioned at the beginning that the cooperation was related to Alliance leader Yi. What's the matter? Long Aocean did not rush to agree, but changed the subject and wanted to figure out the relationship between the two. That's because I want you to join hands with me to deal with Emperor Yi Tian. Situ Yan said in a deep voice. Yi what? Long Aocean was stunned. Seeing this, Situ Yan raised his eyebrows and emphasized, Emperor Yi Tian. You mean, Alliance leader Yi is the Emperor Yi Tian you mentioned? Long Aocean widened his eyes and said in a doubtful tone. Mr. Situ, is this true? The Cyclops was also shocked. Situ Yan, no, what's wrong with you? As native cultivators of Kunlun realm, don't you know history? Chapter 388. C390 Unexpected Actions. Regarding the unexpected reactions of Long Aocean and Cyclops, Situ Yan was speechless for a while, secretly complaining in his heart. It's really strange, why do all the resuscitators I meet have this kind of virtue? Situ Yan had no choice but to patiently conduct popular science. The Emperor Yi Tian in my mouth is the strongest immortal emperor in your ancient times. He once suppressed the dark turmoil and has unrivaled combat power. He can be called the first person in the Holy Realm. Hiss. Hearing this, Long Aocean and Cyclops gasped fiercely, and for a while, the air in this world was almost drained out. They were shocked when they heard the secret. You really don't know? Situ Yan looked strange. Suddenly, he felt so tired. Why did he have to explain the origin of Emperor Yi Tian every time? Shouldn't Emperor Yi Tiandi, who has been dictatorial for eternity and suppressed the source of darkness, be very famous in the Kunlun world? Why do these monks from ancient times seem to have heard it for the first time? This is too unreliable. Leader Yi actually has such an identity. Long Aocean swallowed, his eyes showing awe. No wonder he tried his best at that time, but ended up in a disastrous defeat. It turned out that the other party was not only an immortal emperor, but also the strongest immortal emperor, known as the #1 person under the Holy Realm. Long Aocean began to feel that being able to compete with such a legendary powerhouse was his greatest honor on the road to immortality. Master Situ, is your news true? Why have I never heard of it before? The Cyclops asked with a surprised look on his face. If there really was Emperor Yi Tian at that time, his deeds would have spread all over the world, and they wouldn't have known about it until now. Although there are currently rumors in the Central Territory claiming that the predecessor of Alliance leader Yi is the hidden immortal emperor, the Cyclops still expressed doubts after hearing such secrets that the artistic content was too exaggerated. According to its concept, in the past, it was not ruled out that there were living beings who were promoted to the realm of immortal emperor, but did not tell the world about it. Generally speaking, existences of this level would only be active in the circle of fellow immortal emperors, and the outside world was not qualified to know about it. But the Emperor Yi Tian in Situ Yan's mouth had done such awesome feats and should be famous in the Kunlun world, so that the world would be grateful for his kindness. How come even ancient creatures like it have never been heard of? Does this make sense? That's because you have a bad memory. Situ Yan scolded impatiently with a dark face. I kindly explained it to you, but you still have to question it. Cyclops scratched his head, showing an embarrassed expression. Let me ask, are you so angry? Perhaps, we have been sleeping for too long, causing some of our memories to be forgotten automatically, so we can't remember the deeds of Emperor Yi Tian. Long Aotian said in a deep voice, I believe that many resuscitators have this phenomenon of memory loss. Anyway, he believed it. As for why he believed it so much, it was mainly because he had fought against Yi Junlin. The desperate feeling of exerting all his strength and finally being crushed by all his strength deeply shocked Long Aotian, who had always been proud of him. He left a deep impression on him. Therefore, only Yi Tiandi's statement can explain why the silver-haired young man's strength is so outrageous. Between the ups and downs of thoughts, Long Aotian was extremely excited. Emperor Yi Tian, the strongest immortal emperor, the #1 person under the Holy Realm, ha ha ha, I, Long Aotian, did not lose unfairly, really unfairly. It seems that what you said makes sense. The Cyclops looked like he had a toothache and could only reluctantly accept this statement. In this case, what can it do if it doesn't believe it? Seeing that this topic was over, Situ Yan's expression softened a bit and he continued to persuade. Fellow Taoist dragon, Emperor Yi Tian defeated you before, don't you want to take revenge? As long as you join my side, after getting rid of Emperor Yi Tian, you will be the leader of the Immortal Alliance. Both inside and outside the words were filled with hatred for Yi Junlin. After all, his previous 2 cooperations were ruined by Yi Junlin, and he had to run away in the end. This humiliating experience made Situ Yan hold a grudge. But he must be patient and maximize his profits. Otherwise, the Ring of Order would have been used to target Yi Junlin alone. Who knows? When Long Aotian heard this, he couldn't help but burst into laughter. The laughter contained extreme ridicule and deep contempt. Situ Yan's heart sank and he said with an ugly face, what are you laughing at? Long Aotian no longer laughed, but cursed angrily, I laughed at you for riding a horse, it's a shame. You actually thought I would collude with you. Situ Yan's heart was boiling with anger, his facial muscles twitched slightly, and he gritted his teeth and said. You don't really think that Emperor Yi Tian can protect the Kunlun realm, do you? Now the Saint agreement can still be maintained. When the day comes when the agreement is truly invalidated and a true Saint realm powerhouse arrives, even if Emperor Yi Tian returns to his heyday, he will not be able to avoid the fate of being suppressed and killed. When the time comes, the Kunlun world is completely occupied, how good will your end be? Seeing this, the Cyclops also persuaded, fellow Taoist dragon, Mr. Situ's words are reasonable. Even if Yi Junlin is Emperor Yi Tian, what can he change in the face of the general trend? No matter how powerful the immortal emperor is, he can't compare with the saint. A finger. In its concept, saints represent absolute power. No matter how many immortal emperors are added together, they will be reduced to nothing. The so-called Yi Tiandi can only be regarded as a bigger ant. Long Aotian was extremely angry and laughed back. You bastard, do you think I am greedy for life and afraid of death? If I were really afraid of death, I wouldn't have rebelled against the Black Dragon clan back then. The reason why I reject you is because I respect Alliance leader Yi's character. If I, Long Aotian, don't obey anyone in my life, I will obey him. Also, even if the Kunlun world is in decline now, I will always be proud to be a monk in the Kunlun world. This is my home. Anyone who dares to invade will be killed without mercy. The passionate roar contained the meaning of determination, resounding throughout the whole world and lasting for a long time. You damn bug. Situ Yan was so angry that he had never seen such stubborn Kunlun natives. Fellow Taoist dragon, please think twice. The Cyclops' scalp was numb and he felt that something was wrong. Rumble. Inside the lair, a huge dragon with a huge body and dark golden scales flew out, hovering in the sky and looking down at Situ Yan and the others, its eyes were fierce and murderous. Long Aotian, what are you going to do? Situ Yan's expression changed. Long Aotian sneered and said, you still need to ask. Of course I will kill you and solve the future troubles for Leader Yi in the Kunlun realm. While he was talking, the sky was filled with lightning and thunder, and the dragon's power was everywhere for thousands of miles, making people feel suffocated. See, Mr. Situ, what should we do now? The Cyclops was so frightened that he was sweating profusely and trembling. Its heart calls out for misfortune. He originally thought that Long Aotian could understand the situation and return to the heaven world, but things turned out to be unexpected. He didn't even think about joining anyone, but he was determined to resist the foreign races from outside the territory. The most important thing is that Long Aotian is now going to take action in anger. The Cyclops knows that he is absolutely unable to defeat this terrifying power that is equivalent to the immortal level, so he can only place his hope on Situ Yan. After all, as a direct member of the Guangming clan, Situ Yan dared to show up to persuade Long Aotian on the premise that he was so powerful. It would be unbelievable if he didn't rely on him behind this. Really, Situ Yan behaved extremely calmly, and then under the Cyclops' incredible gaze, he uttered a word heavily. Run. Suddenly, he decisively turned around and turned into silver light and flew away. Cyclops. Window. _Taboola equals window. _Taboola. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Taboola below article thumbnail. 300 times 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail minus 300 times 250 feet. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 389. C391 I should not have played with you earlier. Seeing Situ Yan transform into a flash of silver light and flee quickly, the Cyclops' mind was filled with questions. Was there any mistake? If I had known this, why would I have come here to die? Situ Yan is a ruthless person who doesn't talk much. A short-running character perfectly explains the essence. Still want to escape? The huge dragon entrenched in the sky had a sarcastic look in its golden vertical pupils. It moved, leaned over and roared towards it. A fairy wheel with a vast aura appeared on the back of its head, rolling like a dark golden millstone. Immediately turn the fairy wheel 10 times. Long Aotian spared no effort. With one claw, he first grabbed the Cyclops' head, and violently crushed it while the other person begged for mercy with a frightened face. The huge body with a broken neck slowly fell backwards, making a dull rumble when it landed on the ground. Death and destruction, this is Long Aotian's current strength. Although the Cyclops was a 5th-level immortal king, in the hands of Long Aotian who had activated the 10-turn immortal wheel, he couldn't even hold on for a single round and was instantly killed. One can imagine how big the gap in strength between the two sides is. Waste. Feeling the Cyclops' aura disappear, Situ Yan, who was desperately trying to escape, cursed secretly. At the same time, he had a deeper understanding of Long Aotian's strength. Monsters of this level would be cultivated as the focus of the sequence in any big world with saints. Situ Yan even felt that if there were no monsters like Emperor Yi Tian, Long Ao genius would be his biggest threat to sweeping across the Kunlun world. Birdman, since you like to negotiate terms so much, come into my belly and negotiate slowly. Long Aotian chased after him with a ferocious smile on his face. At this time, this mighty dragon opened its huge mouth and seemed to want to eat the blonde man who was flapping his wings. If an ignorant person happened to pass by, they would think that this evil dragon was a villain, chasing an angel who fell to earth. You little bug, I will never let you go. Situ Yan actually stopped on his own initiative, turned around to face the approaching dragon, uttered harsh words with deep hatred, and then released a milky white sacred light all over his body, which was extremely dazzling. Wow! In Long Aotian's shocked eyes, Situ Yan turned into a silver white feather and landed lightly on the ground. It turns out that this person is just a clone, and the real body is not yet known in which corner is waiting. After realizing this, Long Aotian's eyes became more contemptuous, and he sneered, "You still want to deal with Leader Yi with this little ability? You are less courageous than a mouse." Situ Yan's cowardly performance made him feel ridiculous, and he thought the other party's cooperation was just nonsense. On the sky, the dark golden dragon returned the same way it came, bit an arm of the headless corpse, and dragged it back to the cold and forbidding lair. Soon, there was a sound of chewing bones and flesh. Scalp tingling. The Cyclops never dreamed that he would die in this way. In a cave 100,000 miles away, the blonde man with an angelic halo above his head opened his eyes full of deep annoyance. He felt more humiliated than ever. This Long Aotian is so hateful. Not only did he not agree to cooperate, but he dared to pursue him. On the one hand, Situ Yan hated Long Aotian's arrogant behavior, but on the other hand, he was very afraid of Long Aotian's terrifying strength. To know, now Situ Yan, with the help of the environment of Kunlun realm, has restored his cultivation to the level of the immortal emperor's 7th heaven, which allows him to use more powerful methods. The clone that Feather transformed into just now is one of them. Moreover, he also possesses the 9-turn immortal wheel, and his combat power is definitely at the top of the immortal emperor realm. But compared with a monster like Long Aotian, it's still almost boring after all. Damn it, everything is still not going well. Could it be that fate is playing tricks on me, Situ Yan? Situ Yan clenched his fists, a look of anger on his handsome face. He just wants to complete the mission, become famous throughout the heaven world, and make his brother Situ Kong look at him with admiration. This guy Dabu, let him go out and find out the latest news from the outside world. Why hasn't he come back for so long? Situ Yan tried his best to calm down his emotions, thinking of his bodyguard, and said in a dissatisfied tone. At this time, an anxious voice came from outside the cave. My lord, there is a special guest coming to visit you. Situ Yan was stunned at first, then his face changed drastically. He stood up suddenly and angrily shouted, Bastard, who asked you to bring outsiders here without permission? What if your position is exposed? Sir, I can't help myself. Dabu gritted his teeth and walked in with a sad face, struggling to move. And behind him, followed a thin man with the same image as him, like himself in the mirror, or like a twin brother. Who are you? How dare you pretend to be my bodyguard? Situ Yan was shocked and angry, and the white wings on his back spread out, ready to deal with the impostor at any moment. What surprised Situ Yan was that not only did the other party look exactly the same, but his aura was exactly the same as Dabu's. The only difference was that this person had a joking smile on his face, which was in sharp contrast to the panicked expression on Dabu's face. Haha, I really didn't expect that I would be here to see a noble direct member of the Bright Clan. If I capture you on the Starry Sky battlefield outside the territory, my clan will definitely promote me to a noble title. Fake Dabu licked his lips and said with a serious smile. Hearing the words that contained a huge amount of information, Situ Yan narrowed his eyes slightly, and a stern light flashed in his eyes. You are a lurker of the Juyu faction. Looking at the entire universe, the only force that dares to blatantly capture the direct members of the Light Clan is the Juyu, which is opposed to the Divine Court. Because Juyu and the Divine Court are incompatible, they both want to weaken each other's power. That's right, Fake Dabu said meaningfully. In fact, I came here this time to reach a cooperation with you. Cooperate with me? Situ Yan was stunned. He really didn't expect that the lurker of Juyu would come to him to seek cooperation. It was really unexpected. Humph, let's put aside the cooperation first. If you don't dare to show your true face, what sincerity can you say? Situ Yan's eyes were always full of hostility. Don't be nervous, I just want you to see the transformation skills of my clan. As he said, the blood and flesh of the fake Dabu began to squirm wildly, and an evil and cold breath was released. The final product was a tall, stern man with black hair down to his waist, a sickly pale complexion, a strange blood-red pupil, and a pair of ferocious flesh wings on his back. If Yi Junlin was present, he would be surprised and said, Fuck. Are you so hard to kill? That's right, this man was the undead vampire who was killed by Yi Junlin in the Taichu Holy Land. The reason why he is still alive is because Yi Junlin killed the other party's last clone. As for the original body, it was already somewhere far away, which shows how cautious Shui Tu was at the time, leaving only the clone to sit in the Taichu Holy Land. But the loss of 2 clones in a row was a huge loss for Shui Tu, which was equivalent to having his left and right arms cut off. Fortunately, the world changed drastically again, and Shui Tu lurked in secret, plundering opportunities while practicing, and sucking the blood of the resurrected, so that his cultivation level improved by leaps and bounds. Shui Tu is now also in the Immortal Emperor realm, but his cultivation is lower than Situ Yan, and his immortal wheel barely reaches the 5th turn. Although he seems to be weaker than Situ Yan in all aspects, relying on his terrifying self-healing ability, Shui Tu does not think that the other party can suppress him 100%. Therefore, he wants to take a gamble and find Situ Yan to cooperate with him to fight against Yi Junlin. You are actually an immortal blood clan. When Situ Yan saw the other party's appearance clearly, his eyes changed and he felt a chill in his heart. The whole universe knows that the relationship between the Light Clan and the Immortal Blood Clan is worse than the relationship between the Divine Court and the 9 Netherworld. Just for this reason, the other party dares to cooperate with him. Is it self-confidence or ignorance? Warm reminder. If you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error, or contact us at the bottom to inform us. We will deal with it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. Chapter 390, C392 There is no eternal enemy. Tisk, don't look at me like that. Shui Tu raised a sarcastic arc at the corner of his mouth. As we all know, the undead vampires have extremely abnormal self-healing abilities, and can also strengthen themselves by sucking the blood of the strong. But the sacred power mastered by the Light Clan has an additional damaging effect on the undead vampires, which can greatly weaken this self-healing effect. It is precisely because of this that the undead vampires are very hostile to the Light Clan, believing that this is a race that naturally restrains them. The reason why the Light Clan hates the undead vampires is that the blood of the Light Clan members is a great tonic for the undead vampires. The undead vampires can get greater benefits than other races by sucking the blood of the Light Clan, and the experience is very wonderful, like Poppy, which makes people linger. Therefore, in the Starry Sky battlefield, the undead vampires will take risks to attack the members of the Light Clan, use all means to suppress them, and then bring them back to enjoy slowly. The captured members of the Light Clan often have a tragic end. They will be taken to the Blood Source realm and imprisoned, becoming supplies for the undead Blood Clan, unable to live or die, and living a cruel life in a daze. Moreover, if a member of the Light Clan is captured alive, even if it is the lowest level, more rewards will be obtained than those of other races. This huge temptation makes the undead Blood Clan flock to it. This is why Shui Tu said that he would promote his title when he saw Satu Yan. After all, this is a member of the royal family of the Light Clan. If he is brought back to the Blood Source realm, it will definitely cause a sensation. And he will soar to the sky from now on and enjoy a high treatment in the clan. On the other hand, the Light Clan has been educated since childhood to kill the undead Blood Clan. They believe that only in this way can they protect their families. Because the two races have long been resentful and regard each other as the biggest threat, Satu Yan, who was born in the royal family, feels extremely disgusted and hostile to Shui Tu's identity. He even began to secretly accumulate strength, preparing to give a fatal blow to strangle this evil dark creature. Sensing the slight fluctuations in the air, Shui Tu did not dare to take it lightly and said in a deep voice. "Please calm down, sir. I have no ill will towards you. This time I am here to cooperate sincerely." Although he was salivating over the blood in Satu Yan's body, he also felt a strong fear of the light power that this person possessed. In addition to the difference in cultivation, Shui Tu knew that he could not defeat the opponent. If he really fought, he would think of running away at the first time. After all, if he can't beat him, can he still run away? But this is the worst plan. Satu Yan said coldly, "You let this young master believe in a monster like you who lives on blood-sucking. How many of our people were captured by you and imprisoned in the Blood Source world and tortured? How can you let me calm down?" As he spoke, countless golden light spots emerged from his body, gathering around him, making him look like a god descending to the earth. The smell of gunpowder in the air was very strong, and it seemed that a war would be triggered at any time. "Young master, don't worry about me. Kill this monster," Dabu, who was held hostage, shouted with the determination to die. Shui Tu looked ugly, and tried his best to restrain his anger, sneering, "Have you, the Light Clan, always been victims? Since the dispute between the Divine Court and the 9 Netherworlds began, you have relied on your special power to focus on attacking our clan, causing our clan to lose a lot of territory in the universe, and countless clan members died during this period. You are selectively blind to this account, right?" Hearing this, the immortal power running in Satu Yan's body stagnated slightly, and the anger in his heart dissipated a little. He calmed down and thought carefully. It seems that the undead Blood Clan is not much better. Seeing this, Shui Tu patiently continued, "Now we all have a common enemy, and this enemy is very powerful. Why can't we temporarily put aside our prejudices and join forces to fight the enemy?" Satu Yan said meaningfully, "Do you really think that I can't deal with that human named Yi? The treasure I have is enough to kill any strong man in Kunlun realm." Shui Tu sneered, "Then why don't you do it? As for hiding here, I know you have a wide range of plans and want to kill all the resurrectors in the central region, but you are afraid that you will be completely exposed if you act rashly and attract their pursuit." Seeing that the other party said his pain point, Satu Yan couldn't help frowning, looking at Dabu who lowered his head with shame on his face, and his heart suddenly understood. "I can help you maximize the benefits. Kill at least 90% of the resurrectors in the central region at one time, and when the central region is leaderless, it's time for us to start a bloody cleansing." Shui Tu said in a firm tone. "Can you help me do this?" Satu Yan's eyes burst with brilliance. What bothered him most was how to cover more revivers with the Ring of Order, so as to achieve the effect of catching them all in one fell swoop. This is why he still forbears. He is waiting for a great opportunity. However, now, the undead vampire in front of him can provide this opportunity. It would be a lie to say that he is not tempted. As the saying goes, there are only eternal interests, no eternal enemies. If the other party can really help him, he doesn't mind temporarily suppressing the contradiction. "What are you going to do? I warn you, don't play tricks." Satu Yan said so, but the hostility in his eyes dissipated a lot, and he began to take this cooperation seriously. Shui Tu secretly breathed a sigh of relief and said in a deep voice, As you have just seen, I have the art of transformation, which can imitate the image and breath of each living being to the point of being indistinguishable from the real thing. This extremely exquisite art of transformation is the innate magical power of the undead blood clan. The higher the realm, the more perfect the effect. Then what? Situ Yan raised his eyebrows. He knew that this was the talent of the undead blood clan. Juyu had previously sent many undead blood clan members to infiltrate the interior of the Divine Court camp to steal intelligence and behead people. During that time, the Divine Court was in a state of panic, and everyone was in danger. Later, the strong men of the Buddha clan came forward and recited the great Sun Tathagata Sutra, forcing them to show their true form, and only then were they able to be cleaned up. Recently, there is a Long Aoshan, you should have heard of him. He was defeated by Yi Junlin, but he is currently recognized as the second strongest person. Shui Tu said. You mean that stink bug? Situ Yan gritted his teeth. It's fine if I don't mention him, but I get angry when I mention him. Shui Tu said in a deep voice. My plan is to impersonate his identity and hold a competition to attract revivers from all over the central region with the gimmick of competing for the position of leader, and Yi Junlin will be forced to come to fight. When the time is right, you can take advantage of the situation to sacrifice that treasure, won't you get what you want? Hearing this, Situ Yan's eyes lit up. He had to admit that Long Aoshan's influence was indeed great. If he could use his identity to create a momentum for competing for the position of leader, then this competition would definitely attract many revivers to watch. After all, they are all cultivators. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to witness the two peerless masters fighting and gain some insights and broaden their horizons. If it goes well, not only can the threat of Yi Junlin be eliminated, but most of the revivers can also be killed, successfully achieving two birds with one stone. But if you do this, you must first get rid of Long Aoshan, so that you will not be exposed. But Long Aoshan has the legendary 10 Revolutions Immortal Wheel, and his strength is extremely powerful. Even if we join forces, it is difficult to kill him. Situ Yan frowned and expressed his concerns. He has seen Long Aoshan's methods and knows the gap between the two sides, so he feels extremely difficult. Hehe, I have a way to deal with this, but I need your full help, Shui Tu smiled meaningfully. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article feed. Placement. Below article feed. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 391. C393 Imprisoned Dragon. The distant Qianlong Mountains. In the huge lair, Long Aoshan, who was satisfied with his hunger, was thinking about having a good sleep. Suddenly, he noticed something was wrong. It seemed like a familiar aura was approaching, coming with hostility. Damn, you're such a birdie, you're done, aren't you? Long Aoshan was furious. What he hates most is being disturbed when he is about to sleep. It's so annoying. Feeling Situ Yan's aura, Long Aoshan's heart was filled with anger, and his face was filled with murderous intent. He moved his huge body and rushed out menacingly. Roar. The high-pitched dragon roar contained overwhelming anger and resounded throughout the sky. Be careful, Long Aoshan is out. Situ Yan's figure suddenly stopped, hanging above the jungle, and said with a solemn expression. In the sky, a mighty and huge dragon took the form of a human. This domineering man with a tall figure, flowing black hair, and two dragon horns on his head, carrying a bright dark gold fairy wheel on his back, stared at Situ Yan and said in a cold voice. Dead Birdman, you stepped on the horse on purpose, didn't you? Don't even think about leaving this time. Huh. After 10 turns of the fairy wheel, a majestic and vast power emerged from Long Aoshan's body, releasing a terrifying aura. The color of the sky and the earth changed, the sun and the moon lost light, and the scene was like the end of the world. Quick, do it quickly. Realizing that Long Aoshan was going to launch an attack with all his strength, Situ Yan was so frightened that cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and he quickly urged. He didn't want to fight against such a supreme immortal emperor, the consequences would be very serious. This was the first time Shui Tu saw Long Aoshan's ability, and he was immediately shocked and moved. With such terrifying power, if he were to be punched twice, wouldn't he be beaten into a pulp? The kind that can't even escape. Dark blood ring. In the midst of the lightning and flint, Shui Tu immediately offered up a ring. The surface of the ring was pitch black and covered with strange lines. After he injected surging power, the ring instantly erupted with astonishing fluctuations, and countless crimson rays of blood-like light emerged, exuding an aura of evil and violence. Immediately, a bloody cage formed around Long Aoshan, imprisoning him in all directions. Seeing this method, Long Aoshin became even more angry, and punched the cage with all his strength, making a dull impact. Boom boom boom. The bloody cage suffered a lot of damage and became a little uncertain. You can't do this either. Satu Yan looked ugly and was ready to run away at any moment. He didn't want to be chased by a peerless ferocious dragon. This is the dark blood ring given by the great elder of our clan. Once activated, it can release the cage to trap the opponent and form a suppression. What determines its power is the blood from the strong. Shui Tu's face turned pale, and big beads of sweat fell down, and he seemed to be feeling very uncomfortable. The dark blood ring is his biggest trump card, because the conditions for activation are very strict, and he needs to reach the immortal emperor realm. This is why Shui Tu did not use it against Yi Junlin before. You are a royal member of the Light Clan. The noble blood in your body has a great effect on the dark blood ring, so I need you to water it with your blood so that it can perfectly exert its power. Believe me, with the dark blood ring in perfect condition, even the immortal lord can hardly escape. Satu Yan was actually unwilling to hear Shui Tu's request, but now this was the most critical part of the plan, and he had to take a gamble. You better tell the truth. With a cold face, Satu Yan cut his wrist. Countless drops of golden blood spurted out from the wound on his wrist, pouring into the dark blood ring as if it was spiritual. Blood. Seeing this scene, Shui Tu's eyes straightened, his throat rumbled as he swallowed saliva, the fangs in his mouth were sharp, and his face showed desire. The blood of members of the Bright Clan is very attractive to the undead vampire clan, let alone a member of the royal family like Satu Yan. At the same time, the dark blood ring, watered by blood, began to tremble violently and make a low buzzing sound, which seemed to express excitement. Wow! The blood-colored cage that was already somewhat illusory became extremely solid and indestructible at this moment. What? Long Aoshin was shocked and angry. He didn't expect this to be the case. At this moment, the dark blood ring is suspended above the bloody cage, continuously delivering energy to maintain the operation of the cage. Satu Yan secretly breathed a sigh of relief. I didn't expect it to work. At the same time, he also felt a little apprehensive about Blood Massacre's methods. Subconsciously turning his head to look at the other party, Satu Yan was a little frightened by Shui Tu's eyes. His eyes were straight, as if he wanted to ask for something. Satu Yan warned, "What are you going to do?" Having lost a lot of blood and essence, his body has become very weak. If he really fights, he will definitely be at a disadvantage. But he would not use the Ring of Order unless absolutely necessary, as it would be a futile effort. Hey, what are you going to do to the young master? Dabu immediately stopped in front of Satu Yan and confronted Shui Tu, who had evil intentions. At critical moments, his personal bodyguard is still useful. Shui Tu's eyes were like those of a hungry wolf, his desire for blood was aroused, his throat squirmed a few times, and he tentatively said, "Master Satu, can you give me a little blood?" Satu Yan was very excited. He glared at this person and yelled, "Get out. Don't even think about it." How could the blood flowing on his body be so noble and tasted by such a dirty and lowly dark creature? The reason why I helped just now was for the sake of the overall situation, but if it was to satisfy the other party's selfish desires, that was absolutely impossible. Shui Tu refused to give up and said with a cheeky smile, "You and I are allies, why can't we be accommodating?" When he saw that golden blood emerging, his addiction to blood slaughter was suddenly aroused. This is the blood of a member of the royal family of the Light Clan. For any immortal vampire, it is the blood that is coveted. If you can take this opportunity to taste it, you will definitely die without regrets. This feeling is like a man who is used to sleeping with rouge and vulgar powder, and suddenly sees a peerless beauty lying on his bed that he has never seen before, with a top-notch figure in every aspect, which makes him want to release the most beautiful thing in his body. Primordial desire. Seeing Shui Tu's drooling look, Satu Yan felt chilled in his heart and refused firmly. "No, there's no need to talk about this." Shui Tu was so angry that he gritted his teeth and said with a ferocious face, "But my desire for blood has been completely aroused by you. If you don't help me solve it, I can't guarantee what crazy moves I will make in the future." As he spoke, he approached step by step, his mouth full of fangs, and his eyes so red that they were bleeding. It's like the upper brain of a sperm, eager to release. HMPH, just give up on this idea. My young master will never satisfy you. Dabu was filled with righteous indignation, always ready to fight, and vowed to defend the dignity of the royal family members to the death. "Can you stop me just by yourself?" Shui Tu said angrily with his black hair flying wildly, and the pressure released from his body was full of pressure. Satu Yan behind him frowned, realizing the difficulty of the matter, and sighed. Hey, it's really troublesome. Dabu, give him your blood. Dabu was about to take action, but he was stunned when he heard these words, and the expression on his face became very wonderful. Clam, Chapter 392. C394. The layout begins. What are you doing standing still? Hurry up, Situ Yan urged impatiently. Do you still need me to donate blood in person? What use is that to you? Oh, Dabu was very depressed. Even though he was reluctant in every way, he had no choice but to obey Situ Yan's majesty. The master has spoken, how can he, as a guard, not listen? Master Situ, what do you mean by this? Are you deliberately perfunctory with me? Shuitu said coldly with a gloomy face. Situ Yan's attitude was very tough. This is my final bottom line, not to mention that my bodyguards are second only to direct members like me in the clan, so don't be ungrateful. That's right, am I bad? Seeing Shuitu's disappointed look, Dabu suddenly became furious, feeling that it was a humiliation to his identity. After all, with the silver halo above his head, he is second only to the golden halo in terms of rank, and he also holds a high position in the Light Clan. Shuitu pondered for a long time, knowing the stakes involved, and immediately had no choice but to compromise by using the donkey way downhill. Okay, then I'll suck your blood. Dabu reluctantly cut his wrist, and strands of silver blood floated from the wound, giving off a blazing luster and full of mystery. Shuitu swallowed it with greedy eyes, his throat was rumbling, his complexion quickly improved, and he became energetic. It's so delicious. Shuitu's face was filled with unfinished thoughts, as if he was still recalling the feeling just now. Although it is a little regretful, it is still a wonderful enjoyment to settle for the next best thing. You undead vampires are indeed the most disgusting dark creatures. Dabu said angrily. Even though he was forced to do so, donating blood to such a monster felt like a shame no matter how he thought about it. Haha, whatever you say. Shuitu, whose desire was satisfied, calmed down and did not show an angry reaction to Dabu's verbal attack. Instead, he showed a sinister smile as if his conspiracy had succeeded. This look made Dabu so angry. Situ Yan frowned. Although he hated Shuitu from the bottom of his heart, he could only endure it for now. A little impatience will mess up a big plan, and everything must be done with the overall situation in mind. Rumble. In the blood-colored cage, red lightning intertwined crazily, and a dragon figure with a powerful aura was attacking crazily. At this time, in order to break the bloody cage, Long Aocean used all his skills, and every move was infinitely powerful. Break it, break it, break it. The shocking roar was like thunder from the sky, containing strong anger. Long Aocean's black hair was dancing wildly, and he fell into a furious emotional state. The power he unleashed was far greater than when he competed with Yi Junlin. However, no matter how hard he tried, this bloody cage remained as stable as ever. Shuitu sneered and said, "Don't waste your efforts, even immortal-level creatures can't break the imprisonment of the dark blood ring." Then I'll show you. Long Aocean transformed into a dark golden dragon again, a terrifying red electric light burst out from his eyes, he opened his abyss-like bloody mouth, and a dark red ball of light shining like a comet began to condense in his mouth. There were countless lightning bolts intertwined on the surface of the dark red ball of light, exuding a terrifying aura that would destroy the world. This is Long Aocean's second innate magical power, Dragon's Breath Wrath. When used in a state of extreme anger, the power can achieve the most perfect effect. Because this move needs to be charged in advance and cannot be released instantly, so when he was fighting Yi Junlin, he was defeated before he could use it. Now, Long Aocean, who was trapped, finally had enough time to use this super-killing move. In an instant, the dark red thunder ball condensed in the mouth releases an unparalleled energy shock wave. Boom! There was a majestic and destructive energy that was constantly impacting, causing the entire bloody cage to tremble violently. This, Shuitu was startled, his eyes showing astonishment. It's really hard to imagine that this is the power that immortal emperor-level creatures can exert. This move is so terrifying that it can definitely kill an ordinary immortal. If he had been hit by this shock wave, he would have been completely evaporated in an instant, leaving not even a trace of flesh and blood left. Situ Yan's scalp was numb and he said in surprise, "Hey, are you sure you can trap this monster?" Ying, it should be possible. When he said this, Shuitu's expression was unnatural, and he obviously lacked confidence. Long Aocean's power in the immortal emperor realm greatly exceeded his knowledge and imagination. To a certain extent, it is not an exaggeration to say that he is an immortal. In the somewhat dim blood-colored cage, the destructive light group gradually dissipated, and the huge dark golden dragon transformed into a human form again. Long Aotian was covered in white smoke, sweat was flowing down his face, and he was breathing heavily, which could not hide his fatigue after his peak. Saw this scene, Situ Yan and others breathed a sigh of relief. If this peerless dragon was allowed to escape, they would all have to flee immediately. Fortunately, the plan started smoothly. A near miss. Long Aotian looked ugly. He didn't expect that he would be trapped in this way. He also saw that Shuidu was an undead vampire from outside the territory, and he knew how evil this race's methods were. HMPH, the light race, which thinks they are sacred and noble, would actually let down their dignity one day and collude with dirty dark creatures like the undead blood race. It really opened my eyes. There was ridicule and contempt both inside and outside the words. Situ Yan suppressed his anger, pretending not to care, and said with a chuckle, "Special situations require special treatment. Long Aotian, please come out and talk about it later." Shui Tu said in a deep voice, "Your Excellency's ability really impresses me. Unfortunately, with my clan's treasure guarding you, you won't be able to get out in a short time." Long Aotian had his hands on his back, his figure was as tall as a spear, his eyes were squinting as if he were looking at a rat. "What is the purpose of all your efforts to trap me? You must know that when I return to my prime, this prison will be broken by me sooner or later." The tone of voice conveys full confidence. After all, his cultivation is only at the 7th level of the Immortal Emperor. When he returns to the 9th level of the Immortal Emperor, it will be another level. No matter what realm you are in the immortal world, the 9 heavens represents the level of great perfection, and your own strength is not just as simple as increasing several times. Long Aotian secretly swore in his heart that when he broke out of this prison in the future, he would definitely kill Situ Yan and others to vent his anger. Haha, just take a look. As soon as he finished speaking, Shui Tu quickly changed his appearance until he was no different from Long Aotian. There was a playful smile on fake Long Aotian's face. Seeing this scene, Long Aotian suddenly lost his composure. It was obvious that he was trying to use his identity to carry out some conspiracy. "Don't worry, I will replace you later to kick off this killing." Shui Tu's face is full of meaning. Although his image of pretending to be Long Aotian seems to be the same, he still can't imitate his temperament, and there is always a sense of sinister weirdness. Long Aotian's eyes kept changing, and he suddenly thought of someone and sneered, "With Leader Yi sitting in charge, what kind of trouble can rats like you make?" "Stop wishing," Situ Yan said in a sarcastic tone. "You bug, do you really think we can't deal with Emperor Yi Tian? I have something that can make any strong man lose his cultivation for a short time. No matter how powerful Emperor Yi Tian is, he can still withstand a few of my master's moves if he loses his cultivation." "What?" Long Aotian's pupils trembled sharply, his back suddenly felt cold, and he became extremely frightened when he thought about it carefully. Thinking of what happened today, Long Aotian suddenly realized that the trap against Leader Yi and the others was quietly unfolding. And this is just the beginning. Seeing Long Aotian, who had always been arrogant, showing such an uneasy expression at this moment, Situ Yan felt extremely happy. Inexplicably, "I feel like I'm being slapped in the face in front of the villain," etc. It seems that this young master is the villain, right? Warm reminder. If you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error, or contact us at the bottom to inform us. We will handle it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. Chapter 393. C395 The Evil Star Comes. Mr. Situ, please stay here. I will enter the world as Long Aotian and continue to carry out the subsequent plan. Shui Tu solemnly warned. If the dark blood ring shows signs of failing during the process, you can use blood to water it to enhance its power. I believe it will be more than enough to deal with it for half a year. During this period, if the plan succeeds, it will be enough to disintegrate the situation in the entire central region. At that time, the interior of Kunlun realm will be empty. Situ Yan nodded, happy cooperation. No matter what deep hatred there was before, their goals were the same at this moment. We must cooperate with all our strength. Then, Shui Tu, who pretended to be Long Aotian, soared into the air and disappeared into the sky like a blood-colored meteor. Then Dabu said tentatively. Situ Yan waved his hand, "You keep an eye on him and report to me if you have anything." After that, he flashed and disappeared, leaving Dabu in the wind. "Tisk, lackey," Long Aotian mocked. Dabu came back to his senses, straightened his chest and shouted loudly, "I will do anything to serve you, sir." He shouted very loudly, as if he was afraid that Situ Yan could not hear him. Long Aotian, "Okay, you win, Golden State. Because Qingyong Laoshan had lined up in advance and showed his loyalty, he became a model representative of the demon race and had a great influence. And the Qingyong Taoist palace he established is also the leader of the demon race, and its position is unshakable. The sun is bright and the air is fresh. Qingyong Laoshan stayed in the hall as usual, sitting cross-legged on the futon as steady as a mountain, holding a whisk, chanting, and preaching the Tao to teach all the demons. The huge crowd of demon creatures outside were all shaking their heads and intoxicated by what they heard. Occasionally, there were demons who were lucky enough to have an epiphany, and their faces showed joy, and they bowed down to the hall in front of them. Because of the selfless behavior of Qingyong Laoshan, the strength of all the demons in Wangjinzhou has improved rapidly, and they are the demons with the highest overall quality in all places in the central region. It is also because of this that Qingyong Laoshan has a good reputation among the contemporary demons. It's just that his reputation is more notorious among the ancient demons. After all, they are naturally fond of making trouble, and they are all afraid of Qingyong Laoshan's reporting method. Reporting method is so terrifying. If they are caught by the law enforcement team of the Immortal Tao Alliance, they will definitely be skinned alive. At this time, Qingyong Laoshan is still immersed in his own world. Suddenly, an astonishing breath is approaching rapidly, and there is a rumbling sound in the sky, dark clouds, lightning and thunder. Who dares to trespass into my Taoist temple? Qingyong Laoshan opened his eyes and showed an unhappy look on his face. In the past, he would definitely be scared. After all, he is not good at fighting, and his main focus is on health preservation. But now, the old immortal Qingyong, who has a strong backer, is not at all panicked by this uninvited guest. You know, he is a model demon appointed by the Shandao Alliance. Anyone who dares to cause trouble to him is against the Shandao Alliance and the current leader Yi. Therefore, the fearless old immortal Qingyong wants to see who is so bold at this moment. Boom! A terrifying blood-red thunderbolt landed in front of the temple gate, exploding large groups of white mist, causing waves of exclamations from the demons. HMPH, are you demonstrating to me? If you don't give me a reasonable explanation, don't blame me for reporting this matter to the Shandao Alliance and accusing you of provoking trouble. The old immortal Qingyong stood up, his waist as straight as a green pine, his hands behind his back, and sternly scolded. As we all know, the Shandao Alliance has laws to follow and must follow them. Faced with this situation, the old immortal Qingyong dared to use the weapon of law to protect himself. The white mist gradually dissipated. A towering figure was revealed. His black hair was flying, and there were 2 black horns on his forehead. His face was as handsome as if it was carved by a knife and an axe. His arms and chest were covered with mighty scales, and a thick dragon tail was swinging behind him. This tall dragon man put his hands behind his back, with an evil smile on his face, and looked directly at the Qingyong immortal in front of him, and said jokingly, "Are you talking to me?" Hiss! Qingyong immortal's eyes almost popped out, and he took a big breath of cold air. When he saw the person clearly, he was so scared that his heart almost stopped beating. How could this evil star suddenly come to his door? Qingyong immortal had heard the inside information that the other party fought with Yi Alliance leader for hundreds of rounds and finally lost. Although he lost, his reputation remained undiminished. After all, being able to have a fierce contest with that man already represents a very high level of combat power. And in the eyes of the outside world, Long Aoshan is a peerless strongman second only to Alliance leader Yi. In other words, he is truly the second best in the world. This kind of supernatural powerful existence, unless Alliance leader Yi takes action personally, otherwise no one in the entire Immortal Alliance can suppress him. In this regard, Qingyong Laoshan was panicking. He was really scared. It turns out that it is Taoist fellow Long who has come. I was wondering why the magpies outside have been calling all the time today. Qingyong Laoshan was no longer as tough as before. He instantly bowed his body in a humble manner, rubbing his hands nervously, with a flattering smile on his face. The amulet he was proud of could be said to have failed. In this situation, who dares to talk about the laws of the Alliance? The law itself serves the strong and is tailor-made for the weak. The dragon man in front of him is already powerful enough to override the law. What's the use of reporting it? What makes Qingyong Laoshan feel most panic is that he heard that Long Aoshan's personality is volatile, so he is afraid of the various emergencies he will face next. Shui Tu sneered and stepped into the hall. Fellow Taoist Long, you, Qingyong Laoshan lowered his head, not daring to look directly at him, with cold sweat on his forehead. Shui Tu's eyes flickered. Before he came, he had learned about the situation in the central region and knew that Qingyong Laoshan had a wide influence with the support of the Shandao Alliance. Therefore, he wanted to use this as a starting point to spread the news of the competition for the position of the leader and set up the arena competition in Golden State. Old thing, I can see that you don't welcome me. Shui Tu, pretending to be Long Aotian, stretched out his hand and patted the other's shoulder, sneering. This action frightened Qingyang Old Immortal so much that he almost knelt down and begged for mercy on the spot. His body was shaking like a sieve, which was enough to show how scared he was. Long, fellow Taoist Long. I definitely didn't mean that. Qingyang Old Immortal cried, I'm just surprised. Why did you come to my Taoist temple today for no reason? Have I offended you before? Hee. Shui Tu found it more and more interesting, and sneered, it's not that I offended you, but if you don't listen to me, that's true. What instructions do you have? As long as I can do it, I will definitely do my best. Grasping the key point, Qingyang Old Immortal said nervously. Very good, I will set up a ring here to challenge Yi Junlin. You help me spread the news. As for the time of the competition, it will be set in 3 months. Shui Tu's tone was unquestionable. Hearing this, Qingyang Old Immortal widened his eyes and showed an unbelievable look. What's going on? The lesson from last time wasn't enough, you want to challenge Alliance Leader Yi again. And you're making such a big show to announce it to the world, you, Long Aotian, really don't leave yourself any way out. Now the problem comes. If I work for Long Aotian, wouldn't I be charged with the crime of being an accomplice? Thinking of this, Qingyang Laoshan secretly groaned in his heart. It's really hard to be a good demon. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumb speed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail. 300 times 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 394. C396 Trigger the sign-in task. What, don't you want to? Shui Tu's tone became colder. Alas, a layer of oppression suddenly enveloped Old Immortal Qingyang's body, as heavy as a majestic mountain. Drenched with sweat, he lowered his body and said repeatedly, Your Excellency, calm down, I will do as you asked. You, old man, are wise. Shui Tu snorted coldly, a cunning glint flashed in his eyes. He was looking forward to how big a sensation this news would cause in the outside world when it got out. Subsequently, in the name of Long Aotian, Qingyang Laoshan issued a statement about the competition in the arena, claiming that he would compete for the position of alliance leader in 3 months. Boom! As soon as these words came out, the originally orderly Central Territory, which had fallen into tranquility, created huge waves like a boulder falling on a lake. All the monks were stunned and felt very surprised. Who is Long Aotian? That is the existence whose strength is second only to Alliance Leader Yi. The last time I went to Xuantian Holy Land to challenge, I was defeated miserably after a fierce battle. Even so, I was still proud of the defeat and established my second position in the world. I thought that Long Aotian would be able to restrain himself after experiencing the last lesson, but he didn't expect that it had only been so long before he would make such a big noise. He directly and openly announced that he was competing for the position of leader, and invited the current leader Yi to fight by name. Many people couldn't help but speculate that with Long Aotian's uncharacteristic behavior, could he be absolutely certain that he could be brought down from the altar? If it can really be done, then the Immortal Alliance will undergo major changes. Strange, is Long Aotian impulsive? Or is he relying on something? Dare to create such a big fanfare and point the finger directly at Alliance Leader Yi. I think this matter is really not simple. Humph, no matter what, labor and management support Alliance Leader Yi. Me too. As the Enquiries agency broadcast this shocking news, it was received by all the major states in the central region, and countless men and women discussed it fiercely, and it became the hottest topic at the moment. This Long Aotian has simply healed his scars and forgotten the pain. The leader of a certain gang was so angry that he slammed the table and said, "Give me the order." The brothers will continue to serve one-stop service tonight to show that we firmly support Leader Yi. The gang leader is wise. The mood among the men was very agitated. After all, this kind of service can be related to the dragon character, so it can be a disguised way of venting anger. It is conceivable that in a romantic place like Yihangyuan, there will definitely be a hearty battle tonight. If Long Aotian knew about this weird ritual, he would definitely be furious. No, you people are sick, right? If you want to go to that kind of place, why should you make such an excuse? When will one-stop service be able to touch my noble dragon clan? At the same time, the Immortal Alliance is under a lot of pressure. It stands to reason that after such a blatant declaration of war is issued, many members within the alliance must take measures. For example, arresting and sternly warning those involved. After all, Leader Yi's status is at its peak. How can he be violated casually? But the problem is, the opponent is the fierce and powerful Long Aotian. They all know how terrifying Long Aotian's strength is, and he is recognized as the strongest person except Leader Yi. They would never dare to act rashly with an existence of this level. If you dare to form a group to capture Long Aotian, the consequences you will face will be even more serious. The most important thing is that if Long Aotian really wins this duel, he will become their new leader. Many people keep silent about this and observe the changes in the situation silently. Xuantian Holy Land. Li Wuji was so angry that he pulled out the sword from his waist, split the table in front of him in half, and said angrily. The horse-riding guy, that Long Aotian is too arrogant. He was beaten down by our master before, but now, only a short time has passed, he not only renewed the challenge but also dared to shout openly. The scar is really healed and I forgot about the pain. I think I'm fine again, right? If you ask me, let's just catch him and let him kowtow and confess his crime here. Hear the words. Others look weird. Are you serious? If we have this ability, will it be your turn to make your presence felt here? Kanglang Jun picked up the handkerchief and wiped the cold sweat, and said with a smile, you go ahead, I won't go. I have been feeling uncomfortable in my stomach recently, probably due to indigestion from eating too much. Zhang Tianming said seriously, Senior, if you don't go, then I won't go either. The sect is busy with affairs that need to be dealt with. Lin Dushou said seriously, if the Holy Master doesn't go, I, as a disciple, can't go even more. I have to stay and assist him. Sorry, the colorful phoenix in my yard has laid eggs recently. I have to take care of it during confinement, so I'd better leave this opportunity to others. Lu Qingming shook his head and sighed sadly. Gubuli sighed, hey, I'm old and won't go, but I still support you mentally. Li Wuji, hey, don't make excuses too lame. Especially you, Lu Qingming, I have never heard of anyone saying that the hen lays eggs, and the master has to serve it during confinement. Is that your wife? Depend on. After complaining in his heart, Li Wuji sheathed his sword angrily, well, if you don't go, then I won't go either. Although he currently has the strength to kill the immortal emperor, facing a monster of Long Aotian's level, he still has an insurmountable gap, and he cannot close the gap simply by relying on the blood of the mad devil. Don't pretend if you don't have the ability. Seeing Li Wuji's embarrassment, Hong Chenny said sarcastically. Hearing this, Li Wuji was furious, how dare you say that? If you hadn't begged the master to let Long Aotian go, how could he be so powerful now? Hong Chenny's eyes flashed with anger, and he rolled up his sleeves and asked, do you mean to blame me? Yes, it's all your fault for letting the tiger go back to the mountain. Haha, your hindsight is not much better. The two quarreled until their faces were red. I'm so annoyed. Shut up. Yi Junlin was upset and immediately sat up from the recliner and scolded dissatisfiedly. The scene was silent for a moment. Looking around, Yi Junlin said unhappily, what's the big deal? I'm not anxious, why are you anxious? Besides, Xiaolong wanted to challenge me, and I gave him verbal permission before, but he did make a big fuss this time. Yi Junlin was surprised and delighted by Long Aotian's sudden invitation. Does this mean that Long Aotian's cultivation has improved, and he can take advantage of this to get some experience packs? If so, it would be great. After all, he let Long Aotian go back in the hope that Long Aotian would work hard to cultivate and help him improve his cultivation. But speaking of the matter, this declaration of war is too high profile. Is this kid really sure? I feel that with the other party's respectful attitude towards him that day, it doesn't seem like he can do such an offensive thing. For some reason, Yi Junlin always felt that there was something strange about it. Just then, a system prompt sounded in his mind. Ding, congratulations to the host for triggering the sign-in task. If you arrive at the location and complete the sign-in within the deadline, you will be rewarded with 10 turns of the immortal wheel. Close black lens bracket. When Yi Junlin heard about this reward, he was stunned for a moment, then his eyes lit up. Chapter 395. C397. Everyone has their own agenda. Unexpectedly, the reward this time was actually a 10-turn fairy wheel. From his previous fight with Long Aotian, Yi Junlin certainly knew how valuable the 10-turn immortal wheel was. The so-called 9-turn fairy wheel is nothing compared to the 10-turn fairy wheel. It's not of the same magnitude at all. As an immortal emperor, if anyone breaks through the extreme realm, it means that he will gain unparalleled benefits like a fish leaping through the dragon's gate. As for Yi Junlin, who is pursuing a full configuration, he obviously values this reward very much. This feeling is like playing a game with obsessive-compulsive disorder. You have to collect the most complete set, and there is no one missing. It is said that Long Aotian set up an arena in the Golden State, and the one who built momentum for him was the palace master of Qingyangdao Palace. Lin Dushou said solemnly. Huh, I remember, isn't that the territory of old fairy Qingyang? It has already taken refuge with Long Aotian. If I had known, I would have killed it and asked Senior Sister Bai to make it into a fragrant roasted whole lamb. Li Wuji gritted his teeth and said. Forget it, fellow Taoist Qingyang is probably forced to do nothing. Gubuli sighed and waved his hands, expressing his opinion. Long Ao is born with an arrogant nature. He pretended to surrender before and endured the humiliation. Now he is successful in cultivation and declares war with great fanfare. This means that he will not leave any way out for himself. It also means that he has full confidence in dealing with fellow Taoist Yi. This battle will probably be a disaster. Too little. Hearing this, Li Wuji was unhappy and said with a gloomy face, Lao Go, what do you mean? Do you think my master will lose? Don't forget who gave you your favorite bone. Go Buli blushed and said weakly, little friend Li, you misunderstood me. What I meant was that Long Aotian is more likely to be in trouble than in danger. Li Wuji, okay, you bitch has a conscience. Everyone, since Xiaolong sincerely challenges me, then I will just go to the appointment. Believe me, this battle will end quickly. Speaking of this, Yi Junlin paused, it will probably be faster than last time. Senior Yi, I really admire how quickly you solve the problem every time. Lu Qingming said with emotion. Yi Junlin's mouth twitched, why did these words sound weird? Then I should go slower next time and pay attention to the rhythm. After all, it is really not good for a man to be too fast. It would be great if I could be like Master, able to deal with any opponent quickly and cleanly no matter how powerful it is. Li Wuji said with a look of longing on his face. He still vividly remembers the moment when his master showed his true strength and defeated Long Aotian, and the yearning in his heart arose spontaneously. Yi Junlin's expression softened and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Come on, you can definitely do it. There is no fastest swordsmanship in this world, only faster. The same principle applies to swordsmanship. After listening, Li Wuji bowed his hands and said solemnly, Disciple, please follow the teachings of Master. I hope I can beat that greasy guy to death this time. A cold light flashed in Hong Chenyi's eyes, and she was very dissatisfied with Long Aotian's actions. I gave you face last time, will you come again this time? You are still making such a big noise, who are you looking down on? As the 3-month deadline approaches, the turmoil regarding Long Aotian's declaration of war intensifies in the Central Territory. Far away near the distant Qianlong Mountains. In the sky above, a bloody cage exuded an evil aura, and inside it was imprisoned the biggest victim of this incident. During this period, Long Aotian was not in a hurry to attack, because it was all in vain, so he had to endure it, sit cross-legged in the air, and work hard to recover the lost cultivation and recharge his batteries. Outside, Dabu was responsible for keeping strict watch. Situ Yan, whose complexion had somewhat recovered, had a golden halo on his head and snow-white angel wings on his back, turning into a bright meteor and flying towards him. How's it going? Dabu raised his hands and said respectfully, reporting to the young master, this guy has been much more honest recently, and in order to better strengthen the prison cage, he took it upon himself to inject new blood into the dark blood ring. Well done, I can see that you are very attentive. Situ Yan nodded with satisfaction. As the most critical part of the plan, there is absolutely no room for error. Thank you for the compliment, Master. Dabu felt happy in his heart. Situ Yan looked at the vast sky with a stern smile on his lips. As long as my clan's ring of order is sacrificed at the last moment, Emperor Yi Tian and others will lose their cultivation in an instant, and then my master's massacre will begin. You must know that as long as the ring of order is activated, the enveloped monks can lose their cultivation on the spot. Although it is limited to the time of one stick of incense, they are so fragile after losing their cultivation. Any immortal can do it with just a breath. To an easy instant kill. What's more, a strong man of Situ Yan's level took action himself. It was simply a random killing. When he thought that Yi Junlin and the others would become lambs to be slaughtered, Situ Yan felt extremely excited. He kept holding back, and the day was finally coming. It's just a pity. Situ Yan suddenly thought of something, and a look of displeasure appeared on his face. feeling that there was a flaw in the plan, or a stain. Sir, what are you regretting? Dabu asked cautiously. Now that the mission assigned by the clan will soon be completed successfully, shouldn't we be excited? Situ Yan sighed. It's a pity that the person who helped me facilitate this matter turned out to be a dirty undead vampire. If the clan members know that I, Situ Yan, have actually reached cooperation with the undead vampire clan, even if I have made great achievements, my clan's evaluation of me will be very low, and it may even be counterproductive. The Bright clan has hated the immortal vampire clan for generations, and it is a state of incompatibility. The hostility between the two sides is no less than the struggle between the Shenting and Juyu camps. If they knew that he compromised and cooperated with the undead vampire clan in order to achieve his goal, even if the mission was successfully completed in the end, most people within the Light clan would be ashamed. Situ Yan's current mood was like a piece of jade with serious flaws. Very unhappy, Dabu thought deeply and tentatively said, Sir, if that's the case, why don't we give that dark creature to? As he spoke, he made a gesture of wiping his neck. Situ Yan's eyes were cold. Don't worry, after I kill all those resuscitators, it will be his turn next. The reason why he cooperated with Shuidu was a choice made out of necessity, but as long as the plan was successful, he would shift the focus and kill this person. As the saying goes, there is no room for two tigers in one mountain. The Light clan must win this battle, and the undead vampire clan must not be allowed to get involved in this fat piece of Kunlun realm. Situ Yan glanced at the dark blood ring that provided energy support suspended above the blood-colored cage, and a meaningful smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Situ Yan felt that even this treasure that guarded Long Ocean was in their hands now, and the blood slaughter was even more useless. When the overall situation in the Central Territory was decided, he would find the Stargate and open it. Teams of strong men from the Light clan would pour in, and Long Ocean, who was fighting alone, would definitely die. Then, quickly occupy the entire Kunlun realm and control the resources of the 5 major regions. Just thinking about it, he couldn't help but get excited. Dabu, I need to find the ambush location in advance. You must keep an eye on him next. Yes, sir. After the explanation, Situ Yan glanced at Long Ocean, who was pretending to be indifferent in the blood-colored cage. He sneered a few times with disdain, then flapped his wings and turned into a bright stream of light and went away. Inside the bloody prison, Long Ocean's eyelids trembled twice and he slowly opened his eyes, with worry in his eyes. He had heard the conversation just now. It was a huge and well-planned trap. It's enough to overturn the future destiny of Kunlun realm. Damn it, is our Kunlun world about to be destroyed at the hands of this birdman? Long Ocean's heart was full of resentment and deep helplessness. He could only pray that a miracle would happen by then. As time goes by, more and more resuscitators came in a hurry, settled in the Golden State in advance, and cast their awe-inspiring eyes on the Qingyang Dao Palace. Just because the challenger for this arena competition is inside. I'm curious, which fellow Taoist has visited Long Ocean recently? I want to hear his true feelings. Haha, are you kidding me? With Long Ocean's temper, if anyone disturbs his Qingshou, no one will survive. Yes, you can't mess around, we can just wait and see from a distance. This matter is no small matter. In order to face Alliance leader Yi, Long Ocean will definitely recharge his batteries and adjust his state to its peak. It's a great show to watch. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to witness the fight between 2 of the strongest men in the world. Everyone was transmitting messages secretly to avoid disturbing Long Ocean in the palace. But what they didn't know was that the civet cat had already been replaced by the prince. The real Long Ocean has been trapped during this period, but as the leader of this arena competition, he is an undead vampire from outside the territory. At this time, Shuidu stayed in the dark secret room, trying his best to contain the desire to suck blood that was about to start in his heart. He knew that there were resuscitators everywhere outside, and if he did anything unusual, it would definitely arouse alarm. Putting the overall situation first, we can only endure it. Situ Yan, I know what you are thinking, but what I want to tell you is that if an accident happens to me later, the dark blood ring will destroy itself, and Long Ocean will be able to escape. In this case, do you still dare to touch me? Shuidu said with a sinister sneer on his face. He had already anticipated Situ Yan's intention to cross the river and burn the bridge. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article feed. Placement. Below article feed. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 396. C398. The resuscitators gather together. Shui Tu knew very well where his current value was. If the plan was successfully implemented and Yi Junlin and other strong men were eliminated, then what he would face next was Situ Yan's endless pursuit. But if Long Aotian was added as a bargaining chip, it would be able to greatly deter the opponent. After all, Long Aotian's strength was terrifying. If it weren't for the dark blood ring as a restraint, they would have difficulty dealing with this monster together. If Long Aotian really escaped, Situ Yan alone would not be able to compete with him, so in order to protect himself, he would definitely spare his life and dare not mess around. This was Shui Tu's little calculation in his mind. Yi Junlin, you have defeated my clone twice, but so what? The process in the middle is not important, the result is the most important. I will watch you die in despair with my own eyes as a winner. Thinking of the suffering he had suffered before, a ruthless look flashed in Shui Tu's eyes, and murderous intent surged in his heart. What he was most proud of were the 2 lost clones, because these 2 blood clones were condensed through untold hardships, which was equivalent to having 2 more of himself, and was his greatest reliance in the starry sky. As a result, after arriving in Kunlun realm, they were all lost to the same person. So much so that every time Shui Tu recalled it, he felt heartbroken and could hardly breathe. Now there was a great opportunity to get rid of this nightmare-like terrifying opponent, and Shui Tu felt like he had a sense of revenge. He couldn't wait. A few days later, a world-renowned duel was about to begin. During this period, the Golden State was constantly flooded with a large number of outsiders. In front of the arena set up by the Qingyang Taoist Palace, there were crowds of people, both men and women, young and old, all stretching their necks at this moment, with eyes full of expectation and anxiety. All those who came here to watch the battle were ancient strongmen, and the lowest realm was the immortal king level. If contemporary cultivators wanted to join in the fun, they didn't have the qualifications to squeeze in. You know, it is such a great honor to witness the battle between 2 peerless masters. And it also involves the position of the leader, which is equivalent to witnessing history to some extent. No one wants to miss this good show. For such precious opportunities, the strong are given priority without exception. Therefore, it is normal for the resurrectors with cultivation advantages to book the venue. At this time, the crowd was bustling and lively. Occasionally, there were streams of light of different colors flying over, landing in the crowd and causing exclamations. The visitors were all alien creatures with prestige and status in the resurrection circle. Some had hair jumping like flames, majestic faces, and arrogant eyes. Some were bald, with blue skin and blue eyes, and cold eyes. Some carried wings as thin as cicada wings, wore bone masks on their faces, and were shiny silver white. It is obvious that this unprecedented duel attracted resurrectors from all over the central region. No matter where they were, they couldn't help but come to watch the battle. The scene was crowded with at least tens of thousands of people. Many contemporary cultivators who were marginalized at the outermost periphery felt very aggrieved and scared. At the same time, they also saw the huge number of revivers. It was hard to imagine how glorious the ancient Kunlun cultivation era was. But the most hateful thing was that this group of guys relied on their own cultivation to dominate all parts of the central region, doing evil, separatist, and turned the central region upside down, and the order was extremely chaotic. Fortunately, this unbearable period has passed, and it is all thanks to the immortal alliance established by Senior Yi. If there is no powerful organization to restrain this group of lawless revivers, will the later ones have a chance to come out? The more they think about it, the more many cultivators feel that Senior Yi has made great contributions, and the more grateful they are in their hearts. They hope that Senior Yi can win this victory and continue to sit firmly on the throne of the leader. Look, that's the Saint Qin Rian of Yaoguang Holy Land. An excited voice sounded, and everyone looked over. In the sky, a woman in a plain skirt came with a light of escape, her clothes fluttering, her aura ethereal, her beautiful face, and her indifference that kept people away from her. When the revivers came out one after another, the central region was in turmoil. The notorious flower-picking immortal had visited the Yaoguang Holy Land, wanting to satisfy his perverted desires by relying on his cultivation advantage. Who would have thought that Qin Rian would kill him, and this record caused a huge sensation in the outside world, shocking many revivers with ulterior motives. Therefore, countless people knew that this woman had the strength to rival the immortal king. Now, the duel for the position of the leader is about to begin, and Qin Rian does not want to miss this opportunity, so she came to watch the battle in person. To this day, her aura is extremely powerful, and her realm is already the 9th level of the immortal king, and her promotion speed is incredible. For example, she could kill the flower-picking immortal with just a flick of her finger. Even if she goes all out, she can suppress the best in the immortal emperor realm. It can be said that she is completely different from the past. Qin Ruyan's face was indifferent, and she flew straight to the front line of the spectator's seat. The aura she exuded was extremely terrifying, which shocked the revivers along the way. Could that woman be the peerless genius who killed the flower-picking immortal a long time ago? Looking at the powerful figure, an ancient cultivator said with fear in his eyes. Yes, it's her. Hiss, this is too exaggerated. How did she practice? She can almost surpass the realm of all of us in a short period of time. You ask me, who should I ask? I want to know this question too. Hey, we old guys can't even beat the younger generation. Facing the powerful Qin Ruyan, all the revivers talked about it and cast envious eyes. Although the other party is a contemporary cultivator, with such powerful strength, who dares to go forward to cause trouble? In this way, Qin Ruyan landed in the front of the team with an unprecedented attitude and expressionless face. The ancient masters around her gave up their positions and dared not get too close. Listening to everyone whispering behind her, Qin Ruyan's delicate face was as cold as frost, as if she turned a deaf ear. She came here specially just to witness the duel between the strongest. Deputy leader, that is Qin Ruyan. I think there must be something strange about this woman. Not far away, Zhang Qingzang, dressed as a scholar, held a folding fan in his hand, his face showed solemnity, and said to the old man in green clothes beside him. The Green Lotus Sword Immortal put his hands behind his back, narrowed his eyes and stared for a long time, then a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. Strange, with my eyesight, I can't see through her details at all. What? Zhang Qingzang's pupils trembled violently, feeling unbelievable. You know, the old man in the green shirt in front of him is a peerless sword immortal, and his strength is definitely at the top of the immortal emperor realm. Under this premise, he can't see through the junior named Qin Ruyan. This is too shocking. Qinglian Sword Immortal tried to calm down and said in a deep voice, have you investigated her? Zhang Qingzang said solemnly, reporting to the deputy leader, according to the information collected by the Alliance, this woman's master is the Holy Lord of Yaoguang Holy Land, but that Holy Lord has only just entered the realm of Immortal Lord, so we can rule out the guidance of a famous teacher behind the scenes. Now we can infer that this woman must have obtained some kind of unspeakable immortal fate. Immortal fate? Qinglian Sword Immortal frowned. Even so, it's really strange. I just felt some special aura from her, which I have never seen before. There is another point he didn't say clearly. He has reached perfection in the heavenly grade sword intention, and his perception is extremely sharp. If he dares to swing his sword at the other party, the consequences may be disastrous. In short, the mystery of this woman is definitely not something that a strong man of his level can pry into. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article feed. Placement. Below article feed. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 397. C399 Abnormal Long Ocean. Remember, as long as we haven't done anything that harms the Kunlun world, we don't need to continue to worry about it. The most important thing now is the showdown between Long Ocean and Leader Yi. Qinglian Sword Immortal changed the subject, said seriously. Zhang Qingzang said solemnly, what you are saying is that the current fluctuations in people's hearts within the Alliance are all caused by Long Ocean's blatant declaration of war. The vast majority of fellow Taoists feel that Long Ocean must be fully confident if he dares to do this. This will definitely be a fierce and earth-shattering battle. Hear the words. Qinglian Sword Immortal waved his hand and said firmly, I always firmly believe that Leader Yi is the final winner. Long Ocean's move is to shoot himself in the foot. Not only did he not learn from the previous lessons, but he dared to mobilize troops like this. When he is defeated at the hands of Alliance Leader Yi again, he will have to pay a heavy price for his actions. Quote. Zhang Qingzang nodded and agreed, you are absolutely right. Look, isn't that old immortal Qingyang? Suddenly, a green-robed figure with goat's horns on his head walked out of the palace, immediately attracting everyone's attention. Looking at the bustling scene of huge crowds of people, old immortal Qingyang groaned secretly in his heart. This matter is really big. The most important thing is that ever since Long Ocean publicly declared war, old immortal Qingyang always felt filled with panic, as if something terrible would happen here. At this time, he saw the Qinglian Sword Immortal standing at the front of the crowd. As if seeing a great savior, he walked quickly, bowed and cupped his hands and said, My Majesty, the Palace Master of Qingyang Dao Palace, pays homage to the Deputy Alliance Leader. Haha, Fellow Taoist Qingyang has become so powerful recently that even Long Aoshan wants to stay with you to recharge his energy and prepare for the duel. Qinglian Sword Immortal gently stroked his beard, his eyes were shining brightly, and there was a hint of thorn in his words. The old immortal Qingyang said with a sad face, "It's unjust. If possible, I really don't want to help him, but I have no choice. You also know Long Aoshan. Those who follow me have always prospered and those who go against me will perish." Looking at this pitiful old man, begging for forgiveness, Qinglian Sword Immortal sighed, knowing full well that the other man could not help himself. "That's all, we don't take it to heart. By the way, has Long Aoshan behaved unusually recently?" Hearing this, old immortal Qingyang knew that nothing happened behind him, so he breathed a sigh of relief, cupped his hands and said, "Long Aoshan has always been in the secret room. He is very mysterious. I don't know his details. No." As he spoke, he paused and bowed, "But I firmly believe that no matter how hard he tries, he will never be able to defeat Alliance leader Yi. The gap between the two is like a firefly and a bright moon." Zhang Qingzeng joked. "Fellow Taoist Qingyang, don't do one thing behind your back or do the other thing in front of your face. This is absolutely not the case. This is what I am saying from the bottom of my heart." Qingyang Old Immortal turned red with anxiety. Long Aoshan appears. At this moment, someone shouted. The whole place suddenly fell silent, and an eerie silence filled the air. The people present held their breaths and watched helplessly as the majestic figure walked out of the hall in a kingly manner. Looking at the Wu Yongyang figure in front of him, an imperceptible look of greed flashed in Shui Tu's eyes. He was thinking in his mind, if he could drain all the blood of these powerful men, how huge would the benefits be? "I'm afraid the Immortal Lord also has hope, right?" Seeing that familiar yet unfamiliar figure, Qinglian Sword Immortal frowned deeply. He had met Long Aoshan before, but Long Aoshan today made him feel a little weird for no reason. To put it simply, it is similar in appearance but not similar in spirit. "Deputy Leader, did you see something?" Zhang Qingzeng asked in surprise. "It's okay, maybe it's my misunderstanding." Qinglian Sword Immortal smiled bitterly. Who in this world dares to pretend to be Long Aoshan and make such a big noise? Doesn't the rightful owner exist? Thinking of this, Qinglian Sword Immortal could only console himself for worrying too much. Is he Long Aoshan? Qin Ruyan's eyes revealed a strange color. For some reason, when the other party appeared, she felt a little uneasy, which made Qin Ruyan, who always believed in intuition, look solemn. Shuitu glanced at the whole place, his heart sinking slightly. He didn't find Yi Junlin. If the other party doesn't come, then the plan will be in vain. Damn it, this is a hard-won opportunity. Being able to gather so many resuscitators at the same time is a great opportunity to catch them all. Situ Yan, who was ambushing in the dark, was worried. This arena competition has attracted almost all the resuscitators in the central region. This kind of situation is definitely profitable. However, if the main target did not appear, Situ Yan had no choice but to reluctantly give up the Ring of Order. No way. It is important to eliminate the resuscitators in the central region, but the top priority is to deal with Emperor Yi Tiandi. While his thoughts were ups and downs, Shuitu decided to shout from afar. Yi Junlin, get out of here. Are you going to be a coward? The majestic voice was provocative, echoing in the sky like thunder. As soon as these words came out, the whole place was in an uproar. Seeing no response, Shuitu continued to shout relentlessly. Yi Junlin, why don't you show up yet? Are you afraid that I will kill you? If so, you can kneel down and beg me in front of everyone, and I might even agree to let you become my slave. Ha 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 ha. Everyone was frightened and their legs and feet felt weak after hearing such words of rebellion against Tiangong. They were all shocked. They couldn't believe that Long Aoshan would be so arrogant. He dared to verbally humiliate Alliance leader Yi before the fight even started. This guy. The members of the Immortal Tao Alliance all showed indignation. Deputy Alliance leader, this Long Aoshan is too arrogant. Zhang Qingzeng said with an ugly face. The Green Lotus Sword Immortal was stunned and frightened by these words. He couldn't combine the arrogant and shameless Long Aoshan in front of him with the image of being convinced and respectful when he was defeated by Alliance leader Yi last time. The change before and after was too big. By the way, this guy is so confident that he can win this competition. This extreme verbal taunting leaves no way out for himself. Shui Tu cursed happily, but his heart was getting more depressed. Just as he was brewing his words and preparing to output a wave of trash talk, a rumbling sound came from the distant sky. The huge Kunpeng flew through the void, covering the sky and the sun, bringing with it a heavy momentum and pressure like a mountain. This is the divine beast Kunpeng. The ancient cultivators present were shocked and exclaimed. The Kunpeng clan is the supreme divine clan. Since the war outside the domain, it should have been extinct in the Kunlun world. Now seeing the figure of Kunpeng again, they are all shocked. Kunpeng. A line of figures fell. The young man in the lead was Yi Junlin. Look, that's Alliance Master Yi. My god, Alliance Master Yi's mount is Kunpeng. I can't imagine that even Kunpeng is willing to recognize the master. How powerful Alliance Master Yi's true identity will be. Exclamations rose everywhere. Looking at the crowd of people below, Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows. No way. Everyone came so early. Li Wuji smiled bitterly and said, Master, this is the top priority of the central region, and you are the only one who doesn't take it seriously. At this time, seeing Yi Junlin appear, Shui Tu's eyes burst into a brilliant light, and the killing intent in his heart was unprecedentedly strong. It was this man who made him lose face many times. Today, he must avenge this. To make a complete end. Chapter 398. C400 Yi Junlin, this kid is schizophrenic. Greetings to Alliance Leader Yi. The Green Lotus Sword Immortal looked solemn, and hurriedly bowed and shouted. We are here to greet Alliance Leader Yi. After seeing Yi Junlin riding Kunpeng, countless cultivators at the scene bowed and saluted with awe. The shouts were like a tsunami, echoing between heaven and earth for a long time. This is the human heart, this is influence. Everyone hopes that Alliance Leader Yi can sit firmly on the throne, rather than being pulled down from the altar by the arrogant Long Aocean. Looking at the figure like a moon surrounded by stars, Shui Tu's hatred surged in his heart, and sneered, Yi Junlin, I thought you were a coward and didn't dare to come. How dare you? Li Wuji shouted angrily. You, a former defeated general, dare to be so disrespectful to my master. If I had known you were an ungrateful wolf, I should have killed you at the beginning. How could such a thing happen today? Li Wuji was very annoyed by Long Aocean's provocation. Hong Chenyi's eyes flashed with coldness, and he questioned, Long Aocean, you dare to speak rudely, have you thought about the consequences? Humph, who do you think you are? You dare to torture me? Shui Tu's tone was full of contempt. You, Hong Chenyi was shocked and angry. At the same time, he felt that the attitude of Long Aocean in front of him was completely different from before, and there was an indescribable sense of weirdness. Yi Junlin narrowed his eyes slightly, and said meaningfully, Xiaolong, you are courting death. Due to his previous impression, Yi Junlin thought it was a simple exchange, but after meeting, Long Aocean's performance made him feel hostile, and the air was full of strong gunpowder. It was a big change in temperament, like two different people. Hee. Shui Tu flashed to the ring, looking arrogant, with an arrogant face, Yi Junlin. Come here and die now. Boom. The majestic voice was earth-shattering, and the eardrums of everyone were bulging. Countless cultivators were stunned and frightened. In their eyes, Long Aocean showed no mercy and shouted at Alliance Leader Yi to kill him. It seemed that he wanted to kill him. This made everyone feel unbelievable. Could it be that Long Aocean really had the absolute strength to win? He didn't even leave himself a way out. In response, Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows. Okay, so you play it like this, right? I'll help you. At this moment, Yi Junlin changed his mind. Today, he not only wanted to cut leeks, but also to pull up this leek by the roots. Swish. Under the attention of the crowd, Yi Junlin's long white hair flew, his eyes were so bright, and he landed on the stage with his hands behind his back, confronting the blood slaughter in front of him from a distance. Ding! Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully, and rewarded with 10 turns of Immortal Wheel. The system's prompt sounded in his mind. Suddenly, Yi Junlin had some special changes. It was a dominating aura that frightened countless people. Seeing this, Shui Tu couldn't help but feel his hair stand on end, goosebumps all over his body, and he felt like he was facing a great terror. This guy is really unfathomable. Thinking of the other party's terrifying side, Shui Tu's spirit became tense, and he said secretly. But thinking of the preparations made today, the fear in his heart disappeared instantly, replaced by a strong murderous intent. Then, Shui Tu summoned all his strength, raised his head and shouted hysterically, Quick, now! Hearing this, Yi Junlin sneered. That's what you said. As soon as the voice fell, a golden fairy wheel appeared behind him, and the fairy wheel was as bright as the sun, shining forever. In the shocked eyes of countless people, the fairy wheel turned 10 times in an instant. Boom! A majestic momentum suddenly erupted like a volcano. The sky was dim, the sun and moon were dim, and the area within a radius of thousands of miles was shaking violently, and the earth was shaking. The vast and boundless aura was like a torrent, sweeping in all directions. Countless people felt that they were enveloped by the strongest pressure, and the blood flowing in their bodies almost solidified and froze into their bones, and they all felt cold all over. At this time, Yi Junlin carried the 10 Revolutions Immortal Wheel on his back, and his whole body was emitting a blazing golden light, as if he had turned into a sun to dispel the cold darkness, and his every move had a terrifying momentum of destroying the world. This is the 10 Revolutions Immortal Wheel. Many revivers exclaimed, as if they were witnessing a miracle. Sure enough, who is Yi Alliance leader? He has already broken through the extreme realm, and now he is going all out to deal with Long Aocean. Qinglian Sword Immortal said with awe. He felt that even Long Aocean could use the 10 Revolutions Immortal Wheel, so Yi Alliance leader must be able to do it, and the reason why he used it now was to be completely serious. So strong, feeling this unfathomable aura, even Qin Rian, who was cold and indifferent, was moved at this moment and murmured. She came this time just to witness with her own eyes the duel between the two most powerful people in the world. Yi Junlin's outburst shocked Qin Rian. The cultivators were nervous and expectant, not daring to breathe, and watched with bated breath. Especially Shui Tu, the overwhelming sense of oppression surged, destroying his willpower all the time. A strong sense of warning emerged in his heart, and Shui Tu realized how close he was to death this time. The most fatal thing was that he was the first to bear the brunt, and was firmly locked by Yi Junlin's murderous intent, and it was difficult for him to move at all. Gulu, Shui Tu swallowed hard, sweat breaking out on his forehead. Actually I wasn't talking to you just now. Yi Junlin frowned. What's the meaning? Aren't we going to start a fight? To show respect, I will use all my strength for this move. If you can catch it, I will lose. After speaking, Yi Junlin raised his hand and slowly pulled out the Kengyuan sword from the void beside him. The golden sword body was rippling with halo, exuding a sacred aura. Throughout the vast golden state, all the immortal energy was mobilized and gathered together, creating an extremely shocking visual scene. Yi Junlin raised the long sword in his hand, and all the 9th grade immortal power that could be mobilized in his body poured into the sword like a surging river. The sword erupted with immeasurable bright fairy light, lingering with the mysterious Tao grade sword intention. It can be said that the buffs are stacked up, and the power has reached an incredible level. Yi Junlin had no reservations about this sword. The extremely powerful sword shot straight into the sky, and everyone present gasped, their eyes almost fell out of their sockets, and their faces were full of disbelief. This sword can kill the immortal lord. The well-informed Gubu ignored him, his round dog eyes widened, his scalp numb with fear, his buttocks clenched and his hips raised crazily. Why are you still standing there? Hurry up and show your true skills. Yi Junlin raised the sword in his hand, ready to drop it at any time. He didn't want to strike down with his sword and kill Long Aocean before he could react. The reason why he came to challenge, in addition to receiving the sign in reward, was also to improve his skills. After all, for someone to dare to be so arrogant, he must have reached the pinnacle of cultivation, at least the Immortal Emperor 9th level, right? Although the current limit on realms imposed by the laws of heaven and earth is the highest in the realm of the Immortal King, he has the characteristic of becoming stronger when he encounters the strong. It stands to reason that he can ignore the restrictions of the laws and be promoted to the realm of the Immortal King. Saw this scene, Shuitu was sweating profusely, his whole body was trembling visibly, his pupils were trembling violently, and he had the urge to curse in his heart. Regarding Yi Junlin's shocking sword, he firmly believed that he would never be able to stop it. If he were struck down with a sword, he would definitely be destroyed on the spot. The kind that doesn't even have any residue left. But here's the thing, he didn't even want to fight head-on. It's already this time, why hasn't that guy moved yet? This is completely different from what we said before. Suddenly, Shui Tu seemed to have thought of something, his eyes were so red that they were bleeding, and he knew that the other party wanted to use the knife to kill someone, and watched him be killed. Stop hiding and get out of here right away. If I die, the dark blood ring will be destroyed automatically. The first thing Long Aocean will do after he escapes is to seek revenge on you. Shui Tu took the risk and roared with red eyes. What's going on? Everyone looked at each other. Situ Yan, who was hiding in the dark, heard the sudden change in his face and secretly cursed this undead vampire for being such an old fox. That's right, he just wanted to kill someone with a borrowed knife, and planned to let Yi Junlin deal with the blood massacre first, and then start the final step of the plan. It's a pity that the other party has already reserved a hand. If he decides to break up his skin now, when Long Aocean comes out full of rage, he will definitely be invincible with his strength. What nonsense are you talking about? Seeing Long Aoshan yelling, Yi Junlin looked strange. Could this be schizophrenia? If you think about it carefully, combined with the changes in this person's attitude, it seems to make sense. Suddenly, Yi Junlin's eyes showed some sympathy. Hey, this kid is so pitiful. If that's the case, then just kill him with one sword strike, since you'll still be suffering if you continue to live. Yi Junlin held the long sword, and the golden sword light suddenly glowed, and the sword's power overwhelmed the world. Then, it's time to slash forward. The death alarm sounded crazily in his heart. Shui Tu was so frightened that he almost collapsed. His fearful voice was trembling. Don't be like this. If you have something to say, please say it. I'm not ready yet. However, at this time, a loud shout sounded, Ring of Order, open. Chapter 399. C401. Is there any other solution? Instantly, a glittering silver halo appeared in the sky, emitting extremely abundant energy fluctuations. From a distance, it looked like a brilliant silver sun, with a different visual impact. What is that? Everyone's eyes were subconsciously attracted. Buzz buzz buzz. The Ring of Order released an extremely strange power, spreading at an incredible speed like a tide. This power was irresistible, like a hurricane blowing by. Many cultivators often didn't have time to react, and suddenly felt that something was taken away from them. What's going on? My cultivation is gone. Oh my god, mine too. What happened? Suddenly, the scene was in chaos, and countless strong men panicked, thinking that the whole sky had collapsed. You know, they were still the high and mighty immortal kings or immortal emperors in the last second, but they were demoted to the most ordinary mortals in the next second. This huge sense of gap is more uncomfortable than killing them. It must be that thing that did it. A middle-aged man pointed his finger and shouted with a look of shock and anger. Everyone looked at it at the same time, and saw that the dazzling silver-white halo was suspended in the air, covering an area of 500 miles. Among them, not only the revivers present, but also countless contemporary cultivators at the outermost periphery were affected by this power and all lost their cultivation. They were all panicked and their fear was beyond words. All this was really too weird. Yi Junlin had already slashed out that sword, but who knew that the Ring of Order was activated at this juncture, and his cultivation also disappeared, which caused the long sword in his hand to have no power. Fortunately, it was in time. Shui Tu, who was lucky enough to save his life, was sweating all over, and felt that he had survived a disaster. At the same time, he, who had lost his cultivation, was also exposed. It's you. Seeing this familiar figure in front of him, Yi Junlin was very surprised. He still remembered the undead vampires that he had killed in the holy land of Taichu that day. As a result, the other party was still alive. The one he killed before must be another clone. Yes, it's me. At this point, Shui Tu didn't need to pretend. He raised his chin proudly, his eyes were full of sarcasm, and he spread his arms to show the posture of a winner. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Yi Junlin, he was really speechless. So this is the scene of the 3 fights with the White Bone Demon in Journey to the West. So, this is all a trap designed by you. Yi Junlin's eyes flickered. Just as Shui Tu was about to speak, he was interrupted by a sentence. Wrong, this is carefully prepared for you by this young master. As he spoke, ripples appeared in the void next to the Ring of Order. A blond man emerged, with white wings on his back and a golden halo on his head, as sacred as an angel. At this time, Situ Yan looked down at Yi Junlin, who was as tiny as an ant, and felt unprecedented joy in his heart. He finally succeeded. Who are you? Do I know you? Because Situ Yan always ran away in advance, Yi Junlin didn't see the other person's appearance clearly at all, and asked with a raised eyebrow. Hearing this, Situ Yan was so angry that he almost fell from the sky. You made me flee in embarrassment every time, and you actually asked such a question. What do you mean? You are deliberately embarrassing me, right? Situ Yan suppressed his inner anger and sneered. Emperor Yi Tian, I am Situ Yan, from the Light Clan. Do you remember one of my men who was sent out? You killed him. Hearing this, Yi Junlin immediately had some impression. When he was in Tianu country before, there was also a birdman with a pair of wings who flew over to make trouble, and then he was poked to death with one finger. From that time on, he knew that in addition to the Undead Blood Clan, there was also a force called the Light Clan, which was also lurking in the Kunlun realm. Now, the leader behind the scenes has appeared, and he must have felt that he was sure to win. Emperor Yi Tian. The audience's face changed again and again after hearing this title. So the predecessor of the Yi Alliance leader was Emperor Yi Tian. Hiss, this title sounds very powerful. The question is, why haven't we heard of it before? The group of resurrected people were surprised and doubtful. Thinking of the previous encounter, Shui Tu's face was a little ugly, and he said with a thorny tone, Mr. Situ, I have been waiting for you so hard. If you are any later, I will be killed by a sword. Situ Yan did not feel embarrassed, and said calmly, sorry, I was distracted just now, and almost made a big mistake. Don't take it to heart. Walk, distracted. Hearing such a perfunctory explanation, Shui Tu was so angry that he gritted his teeth. But he had no choice but to continue to cooperate at the moment. Yi Junlin narrowed his eyes, pointed at the silver halo and asked, what is that? It can actually make us lose all our cultivation. Hee, it's okay to tell you, this is the Ring of Order, a treasure of my Light Clan. You lost your cultivation because of me. Situ Yan's tone was arrogant, with an indescribable sense of superiority. He just liked to look at these natives of Kunlun realm, who looked like they had never seen the world. Damn it, give us back our cultivation. It's over, we might as well die without cultivation. Countless cultivators cried out in grief. Situ Yan admired the desperate expressions of this group of people and found it particularly interesting. Hey, who are you trying to scare? This effect can only last for one stick of incense. After one stick of incense, everyone can recover their original cultivation. Suddenly, Yi Junlin said with certainty. As soon as this was said, the crying stopped abruptly. Is this true, Alliance Leader Yi? Everyone said in surprise. You, how did you know? Situ Yan's face changed. This kind of secret should not be leaked. Don't ask, asking is just guessing. Yi Junlin touched his nose. The reason is very simple, because he just asked the system. Situ Yan came back to his senses from the shock and sneered. What if you know? One stick of incense is enough for me to kill you 100,000 times. The reason why I still keep you is to appreciate your helpless expressions at the end, so that you can die with a clear mind. Hearing this, the cultivators looked desperate. Yes. Even if one stick of incense can restore the cultivation, what can it do? For the strong, let alone one stick of incense, even a difference of milliseconds can determine a person's life or death. Besides, they have no cultivation now. Even if they want to take the opportunity to escape, how far can they run? It's nothing more than staying where they are and waiting to die. It's over, everything is over. Go Buli sat on the ground in despair, holding his head and muttering. This group of people represents the most powerful force in the central region. If they are annihilated here, it also indicates that the interior of Kunlun realm will fall into emptiness. There will be no hope of a comeback in the future. How could this happen? Qin Ruyan clenched her teeth, and her nails pierced through her palms, bleeding red. She couldn't accept this result. Despicable, shameless. Li Wuji took off his bamboo hat and threw it on the ground, cursing angrily, you damned bird, I'll fuck your mother. That's right, I'll fuck your mother. Countless cultivators reacted and thought that since they were all going to die, they might as well vent before they died. Then, a barrage of abuses rang out, and the words were all cordial greetings to Situ Yan's family. Situ Yan was so angry that he was trembling all over. How could he, who was pampered, bear such anger? These natives of Kunlun realm were so vulgar. All of you die. Situ Yan raised his hand angrily, and his palm burst into a dazzling golden light, turning into a golden hand about 1,000,000 meters wide and slapping away. Boom! Seeing a golden hand slapping in the sky, the monks who realized that their death was approaching, fear rose in their hearts. No. Hong Chenny felt cold all over and was in despair. At this time, he glanced at Yi Junlin habitually from the corner of his eyes and found that this man was not panicked at all, and there was a playful smile on the corner of his mouth. Noticing this subtle change in expression, Hong Chenny seemed to think of something, his head was buzzing, and his breathing became extremely rapid. Recalling the various experiences in the past, every time there was a crisis of death, this young man could turn the danger into safety. And every time this expression appeared, it meant that he was fearless. Does the master have another solution? Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail. 300 times 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 400. C402 Shui 2. I regret it so much. The breath of despair permeated all directions, and the haze of death enveloped everyone's heart. The cries of grief rose and fell, as if the end of the world was coming. The strongest group of cultivators in the entire central region were about to be slapped into ashes by a big hand at this moment. This means that the interior of Kunlun realm will face an extremely weak state. Although it cannot be said that there is no successor, it is definitely a huge loss. Ha ha ha, Situ Yan grinned, feeling extremely happy in his heart. He waited for this day for too long. Suddenly, the familiar silver-haired figure caught his attention again. The young man was not panicked, with a playful smile on his lips, which formed a sharp contrast with the panicked crowd. They were two completely different expressions. Situ Yan suddenly had an ominous premonition in his heart. But on second thought, he felt that he was worrying too much. After all, under the effect of the Ring of Order, the opponent had already been deprived of all his cultivation. If he wanted to recover, he had to wait for an incense stick of time, and during this period, he was no different from ordinary people. In theory, he must win this game. Humph, you are about to die, and you still want to scare me. You will die with them. Situ Yan's face was murderous and he shouted coldly. As for Shui Tu, he had already used the advantage of flying to come to Situ Yan's side, and the flesh wings on his back were flapping, blowing a strong wind. Alas, what a pity, Shui Tu looked at the crowd below, and seemed a little reluctant. Don't get it wrong, he didn't sympathize with this group of strong men, but he felt that it was too wasteful to be slapped to death like this. If he had the ability to suck all the blood, it would be a huge benefit for him. Rumble. In the field of vision, the golden palm pressed down at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was only 500 meters away. Countless people could not bear this pressure and knelt on the ground in pain. Their bones in their bodies were crackling, and their blood was surging. Their faces turned liver-colored and they felt very uncomfortable. At this time, Yi Junlin, who was in the attack range, seemed to be waiting for something. Suddenly, a system prompt sounded in his mind. Ding, the host was detected to be attacked by an enemy of the 7th level of the Immortal Emperor. Now the passive effect of being stronger when facing a strong enemy is triggered, and the cultivation of the 8th level of the Immortal Emperor is obtained. Closing square bracket. In an instant, Yi Junlin, who originally had no cultivation, burst out with brilliant immortal light all over his body, and the whole person was as dazzling as the sun. Behind him, a brilliant and immortal golden immortal wheel appeared. Hee. Yi Junlin's long white hair fluttered, and he burst out with an unprecedented and powerful momentum, wanting to make the people of the world surrender. Those eyes seemed to contain the sun and the moon, emitting two beams of light that split the sky. Then, in the shocked eyes of countless people, he raised the long sword in his hand and pointed lightly. Bang! The huge golden palm could not bear the pressure and shattered in an instant. Puff! Situ Yan's face was painful, and he spit out a large mouthful of blood, with deep disbelief in his eyes. You, he stretched out his finger with trembling, his face full of disbelief, his throat seemed to be stuck with a thorn, as if the scene in front of him shocked him so much that he could not speak for a short time. Even if he used any words in the world, he could not describe his inner feelings at the moment. Situ Yan racked his brains to figure out why Yi Junlin suddenly recovered his cultivation. You know, how long has it been now? Not even half an incense stick of time. Without the threat of death, the cultivators no longer felt desperate. They stared at the most eye-catching figure in the world in amazement, just like mortals looking at gods. It was Alliance Leader Yi who saved us. Shouts were heard everywhere. It seems that Alliance Leader Yi has his own way to crack it. The so-called treasures of the Light Clan have no effect on him. Qinglian Sword Immortal thought of this and said with admiration. Countless people felt extremely fortunate, and their eyes looking at Yi Junlin were full of fanaticism. Thanks to Alliance Leader Yi, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. Haha, how can such a small trick be difficult for my master? Dead bird man, are you dumbfounded now? Li Wuji was very excited and could not contain his inner ecstasy. He shouted proudly at the blonde man in the sky. Sure enough, Hong Chenny breathed a sigh of relief. He knew that the young man was not afraid of danger, and he must have something to rely on, and the facts proved that it was indeed the case. How did he do this? Qin Ruyan's beautiful eyes widened. Because she was also deprived of her cultivation by the Ring of Order, and knew the terribleness of this magic weapon, so when she saw that Yi Junlin could ignore it, she felt extremely shocked. Emperor Yi, thinking of the previous title, Qin Ruyan felt for the first time that Yi Junlin's background was beyond imagination. Obviously, everyone was stunned by Yi Junlin's performance. Shui Tu was confused, his mind was blank. No, what's going on? He turned his head to look at Situ Yan next to him, and found that the other party was so shocked that he couldn't say a complete sentence. Situ Yan, how do you explain this? Didn't you say it would take an incense stick of time? How long has it been? Shui Tu stepped forward and grabbed Situ Yan's collar, roaring angrily, you are a waste who can't do anything but make trouble. This plan was ruined by you. Ruined by you. The recovery of Yi Junline's cultivation also marked their failed ending. They were not qualified to fight this man, and could only rely on tricks. However, this method was no longer effective, and they had no power to resist. Situ Yan, who was scolded, suddenly came to his senses, and a strong anger surged in his heart. He said angrily, "You, a dirty and lowly dark creature, dare to teach me a lesson. Wasn't this plan proposed by you? In my opinion, you are the culprit." Situ Yan directly threw the blame and slapped him in anger. No, Shui Tu's eyes widened in horror. How could he resist this attack without any cultivation? He was soon swallowed up by the surging palm power, and there was not even a trace of residue left. This time, Shui Tu was really dead. Before he died, he was still thinking how good it would be if he didn't take the initiative to find Situ Yan. Maybe he could survive to the end. But unfortunately, there is no if. Birdman, you're so ruthless that you even killed your own ally. Yi Junline said with a sigh. It must be said that the plan jointly created by Situ Yan and Shui Tu is perfect. First, they replaced the prince with a cat, then invited the enemy into a trap, and finally caught them all in one fell swoop. The whole process is linked together, especially the treasure of the Ring of Order, which plays a key role. It's a pity that he missed one thing after all the calculations, that is, Yi Junline has his own plug-in. Relying on the golden finger of being stronger when facing a strong opponent, what if he loses all his cultivation? All along his journey, his cultivation was all based on touching porcelain. Hard practice does not exist at all. And Situ Yan's realm is at the 7th level of the Immortal Emperor. When he attacked Yi Junline, he triggered the passive system, which allowed Yi Junline to have the cultivation of the 8th level of the Immortal Emperor. If this trap is aimed at all living beings in the 3 realms, then Yi Junline is a super plug-in who jumps out of the 3 realms and is not in the 5 elements. Situ Yan, who was ridiculed, looked embarrassed, his eyes kept changing, and he said with difficulty as if he had made up his mind. Emperor Yi Tian, I have offended you before. Since I am a direct member of the Light Clan, can you let me go this time? We can put aside our past grudges. When the Light Clan descends on Kunlun Realm in the future, I will come forward to guarantee you and let you become the most honorable saint envoy of our Light Clan, and tour Kunlun Realm on behalf of our saints and take charge of the 5 major domains. Boom! The whole audience exploded instantly. Countless people were in disbelief, and were shocked by the amount of information contained in these words.